Story 1: The Haunting on Elm Street. Halloween had cast its eerie spell on the quiet suburban neighborhood of Elm Street. The crisp autumn air was filled with the laughter of children in costumes, the rustling of leaves, and the tantalizing aroma of sweet treats. Elm Street was known for its friendly community, but there was one house that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to venture near: the old, decrepit mansion next door to Sarah's home. Sarah, a skeptical teenager with a penchant for the mysterious, had always been drawn to that foreboding mansion. She watched as the neighborhood children whispered rumors about the house, its dark history, and its reclusive owner, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson had lived there for decades, but nobody really knew him. He was an enigma, a shadow in the neighborhood, never seen in the daylight, only when the moon hung low in the sky. On this Halloween night, the allure of the unknown was too powerful to resist. As Sarah and her friends roamed the neighborhood in their spooky costumes, her gaze was inexorably drawn to the eerie house next door. The mansion's grandeur had long faded, leaving it a crumbling relic of the past. Sarah's heart pounded as she decided it was time to explore the house and unravel its mysteries. With her friends hesitating at the edge of the property, Sarah summoned her courage and approached the front door. She knocked, but there was no response. The house was eerily silent. Undeterred, she turned the knob and entered the dimly lit foyer. The air was heavy with a musty, ancient scent, and the creaking of the floorboards seemed to whisper secrets. As Sarah delved deeper into the mansion, she discovered a hidden door leading to a small, candlelit room. There, at an ornate table, sat Mr. Thompson. His eyes were like two cold, gleaming marbles, and his gaze sent a chill down Sarah's spine. He motioned for her to sit across from him. "Welcome, Sarah," he said, his voice a mere whisper. Sarah's curiosity mingled with trepidation as she replied, "How do you know my name?" "Many things are known to me," Mr. Thompson said cryptically, "but not all should be known." Intrigued and unnerved, Sarah listened as Mr. Thompson spun a tale of a curse that had befallen Elm Street long ago. The curse, he claimed, was tied to the house itself and could only be broken by someone brave enough to confront the spirits that dwelled within. Sarah dismissed his story as the ramblings of a madman, but something in the way he spoke, something in the haunted look in his eyes, gave her pause. To prove his point, Mr. Thompson suggested a seance. He produced a dusty old Ouija board and lit a black candle. Sarah's friends had long since abandoned her, too afraid to follow her into the abyss of the unknown. With a deep breath, she agreed to the seance, her skepticism waning in the face of the eerie atmosphere. As the planchette moved across the board, a frigid gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candle. The darkness that engulfed them was suffocating, and Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. The seance had summoned something, and it was not benevolent. In the pitch-black room, a multitude of whispers echoed around her. Sarah felt a spectral presence drawing near. It brushed her cheek with an icy breath, and she could sense an overwhelming sorrow and anger. Sarah had unwittingly awakened the vengeful spirits that had been trapped by the curse on Elm Street. Just when panic threatened to consume her, a single, mournful word emanated from the shadows: "Run." The word was laden with despair, and Sarah needed no further encouragement. She bolted from the room, slamming the door behind her, leaving Mr. Thompson and the malevolent spirits inside. As she fled the mansion, a deafening chorus of anguished cries filled the night, and the old house seemed to shudder as the curse's grip tightened. Sarah's heart pounded, and she knew she had unwittingly stirred something that should have been left undisturbed. For weeks afterward, the eerie house on Elm Street fell into silence. Mr. Thompson vanished, never to be seen again, and Sarah, while forever changed by her encounter with the supernatural, could only hope that the curse had been appeased. But Elm Street would never be the same. The mysterious mansion remained, whispering secrets to those who dared to listen, a grim reminder that meddling with the supernatural can have chilling consequences. As you listen to this story and ponder the haunting events of Elm Street, remember that sometimes curiosity can lead us down a path we may never return from. The spirits of the past linger in the darkness, waiting for their moment to be heard. Be cautious on Halloween night, for the supernatural may be closer than you think. Story 2: The Midnight Masquerade. The autumn night was heavy with secrets and mysteries, and at the heart of it all was the grand old mansion that had stood for centuries. Its once elegant walls were cracked and faded, yet the allure of the Midnight Masquerade, the most exclusive event of the Halloween season, persisted. The decrepit mansion's secrets were buried deep within its walls, waiting for the moment when they would be revealed. Emma, a young woman with a penchant for the dramatic, had secured an invitation to the midnight masquerade through a stroke of luck, or perhaps something more sinister. Her elaborate mask concealed her identity as she ascended the mansion's grand staircase, entering a world of opulence and enigma. The ballroom was bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, and the guests, each masked and dressed in extravagant costumes, moved with grace and mystery. Emma felt a shiver crawl down her spine as she realized that behind every mask was a concealed identity, a persona carefully chosen for the night. She couldn't help but wonder what lay behind those alluring disguises. As the evening wore on, a game of deadly intrigue began. Guests exchanged whispers and secrets, subtly maneuvering to uncover the truth about one another. Emma was swept into this dance of deception, her curiosity piqued. She, too, wanted to unearth the mysteries hidden within these opulent walls. Amidst the elegance and deceit, Emma found herself captivated by a masked man, the enigmatic host of the midnight masquerade. His mask was an intricately carved raven with piercing onyx eyes, and he moved with a grace and charm that set him apart from the others. As he approached her, a palpable tension filled the air. "Care to dance?" he asked, extending a gloved hand. Emma hesitated only for a moment before accepting. Their waltz took them across the grand ballroom, but as the music swirled around them, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the masked host held secrets even more compelling than the rest. She was determined to unveil the truth that lay behind his enigmatic facade. Amid the twirl of masks and the web of intrigue, Emma encountered a fellow guest who had a reputation for being a collector of secrets. As they conversed, the collector revealed a hidden room within the mansion, a room that, according to whispers, held the darkest secrets of all. Intrigued by this revelation, Emma decided to venture deeper into the mansion, leaving the alluring dance behind. The collector offered her a key that would unlock the door to the room of secrets. With trepidation, Emma descended a narrow staircase, her footsteps echoing in the dimly lit corridor. As she approached the heavy wooden door, her heart raced. The key slid effortlessly into the lock, and with a click, the door creaked open. Emma's breath caught as she stepped into the room, her candle casting flickering shadows on the ancient tapestries that adorned the walls. The room was filled with masks, hundreds of them, each one more haunting than the last. Emma's fingers traced the intricate designs, feeling the weight of the secrets they concealed. She was drawn to a mask that seemed almost human, with tear-shaped eye holes and an expression of eternal sorrow. It exuded a palpable sense of despair. Emma's hands trembled as she lifted the mask, and as she stared into the empty eye holes, a sensation of dread washed over her. It was as if the mask were whispering to her, revealing the darkest of truths. She could feel the weight of centuries of deception, the pain of countless souls who had worn these masks, hiding behind their chosen identities. It was then that the masked host appeared, standing in the doorway with a chilling smile. "You've found the room of secrets, my dear," he said, his voice dripping with malevolence. Emma's heart pounded as she realized that the secrets of the midnight masquerade were not the petty intrigues of the guests, but something far more sinister. She had stumbled upon the truth that lay behind the masks they all wore, a truth that had been concealed for a generation. As the masked host approached, his raven mask seemed to take on a life of its own, its onyx eyes fixated on Emma. With a shock, she understood that the mask was not just an accessory but a vessel, a conduit for the malevolent spirit that lurked within. The shocking unmasking revealed the host's true identity, or lack thereof. He was no more than a puppet, a vessel for the dark forces that inhabited the mansion. With an eerie chant, the room came alive with the spirits of the past, each one yearning for release from the masks they had been trapped in. The walls of the mansion seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy as the spirits swirled around Emma, their mournful wails filling the room. She had uncovered a truth that was never meant to be revealed, a truth that threatened to consume her very soul. As she faced the malevolent spirits, Emma knew that her fate was sealed. The midnight masquerade, with its opulence and deception, had ensnared her in a web of darkness from which there was no escape. As you listen to this tale, remember that the masks we wear, both literal and metaphorical, can conceal the most terrifying truths. Deception and intrigue often come at a price, and sometimes it's a price we're not prepared to pay. The secrets of the midnight masquerade serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind even the most beautiful of facades. Story 3: The Pumpkin Patch Curse. In the dimming light of the Halloween Eve, on the outskirts of a small town, there existed a sprawling pumpkin patch, known to all as Harrowing Hollow. Its reputation was not for the biggest pumpkins or the most vibrant gourds, but rather for the sinister legends that surrounded it. Harrowing Hollow was believed to be cursed, and every Halloween, the air carried whispers of ghostly apparitions seeking retribution. At the heart of this tale was Jake, a skeptical farmer who had inherited Harrowing Hollow from his ancestors. He scoffed at the superstitious townsfolk who spoke of curses and restless spirits, believing instead in hard work and profit. To him, the pumpkin patch was nothing more than a source of income, and he dismissed the legends as mere nonsense. The story began with an ominous chill in the air, the evening of Halloween approaching rapidly. Jake had spent the day tending to his pumpkins, ensuring they were pristine for the eager customers who would soon arrive. Yet, as twilight descended and the sun dipped below the horizon, he couldn't ignore the palpable sense of unease that settled upon the land. As the first stars appeared in the night sky, Jake noticed an eerie, misty fog rolling in from the nearby woods. It slithered through the rows of pumpkins, obscuring the path ahead. With a lantern in hand, Jake set out to investigate the unnatural phenomenon, his skepticism waning with each step. Deep within the pumpkin patch, where the fog was thickest, a voice whispered from the darkness. "Jake," it beckoned, a soft and haunting murmur that sent a shiver down his spine. Startled, he looked around but saw no one. "Who's there?" he called out, but received only silence in return. Suddenly, an ethereal figure emerged from the mist. It was a young girl, no more than 12 years old, with pale skin and long, flowing hair that seemed to shimmer like moonlight. She was dressed in a tattered, 19th century gown and carried a wilted bouquet of dried flowers. "Who are you?" Jake asked, his voice trembling. "I am Lily," the ghostly girl replied, her eyes as empty as the void. "I died in this very patch, wronged by your ancestors, and now I seek justice." Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he listened to Lily's tale of woe. Decades ago, the land had belonged to her family, and they had been cheated out of their rightful inheritance by Jake's forebears. In their quest for riches, they had stolen the pumpkin patch, and in doing so, had condemned Lily and her siblings to a life of suffering and poverty. Lily's voice quivered with anger and sorrow as she recounted how they had perished in the harsh winters that followed, their deaths a direct result of the greed and injustice committed against them. The curse that now plagued Harrowing Hollow, Lily explained, was a manifestation of her family's enduring anger and desire for retribution. And on Halloween night, their spirits were allowed to walk the earth, seeking justice for the wrongs that had been done to them. As the truth of the curse dawned on Jake, his skepticism crumbled, replaced by guilt and fear. He understood that the spirits of the wronged children were now vengeful, and he was the heir to the legacy of their suffering. Desperate to break the curse, Jake pleaded with Lily to guide him in making amends for his family's past sins. Together, they embarked on a quest to unearth the truth about the stolen inheritance and to find a way to appease the spirits of the wronged children. In the moonlight, they uncovered long-forgotten letters and documents in an ancient chest hidden beneath the farmhouse floorboards. These documents revealed the sordid history of the stolen land, the injustices that had been committed, and the names of those who had conspired against Lily and her family. With this newfound knowledge, Jake and Lily conducted a ritual of remembrance, gathering the townspeople to acknowledge the injustices of the past and pay tribute to the spirits who had suffered. The pumpkin patch, once cursed, began to bloom anew, its pumpkins vibrant and full of life. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, Lily's ghostly form began to fade. She turned to Jake with a ghostly smile. "The curse has been lifted," she said. "Your ancestors' debts have been paid." With those words, she vanished into the morning mist, leaving behind a pumpkin patch transformed, no longer a place of despair, but one of rebirth and redemption. As you listen to this story, remember that the consequences of greed and injustice have a way of lingering through generations. Sometimes, it takes a recognition of past wrongs and a willingness to make amends to break the curse of the past. The tale of Harrowing Hollow serves as a haunting reminder that the spirits of the wronged are not easily appeased, and their quest for justice can endure long after their mortal lives have ended. Story 4. The Witches of Blackwood Forest. On the eve of Halloween, the moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie, silver glow over Blackwood Forest. This ancient and dense woodland had long been rumored to be a place of dark magic, where secrets of the arcane were whispered among the twisted trees and creeping vines. Mia, an inquisitive girl with a thirst for knowledge and adventure, had always been drawn to the mysterious forest. She had heard the tales of witches who dwelled deep within its heart, practicing their forbidden arts and invoking dark spirits on this night of the year. With a heart full of curiosity and the thrill of the unknown coursing through her veins, Mia ventured into Blackwood Forest as the shadows grew long. Her footsteps were muffled by the thick carpet of leaves that blanketed the forest floor, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. As Mia ventured deeper into the woods, she began to hear faint, haunting melodies that seemed to emanate from the very trees themselves. They beckoned her further into the forest, luring her like a siren's call. Unable to resist, she followed the ghostly music to a clearing bathed in an eerie, silvery light. In the center of the clearing, Mia discovered a circle of ancient stones, worn smooth by centuries of rituals. Within the circle stood a coven of witches, their faces hidden by grotesque masks and their bodies draped in dark, tattered robes. Their chants and incantations filled the air with an otherworldly resonance. At the center of the coven was an ornate, hexed book, bound in human skin and inked in blood. Mia's heart raced as she recognized the book as the legendary Tome of Shadows, a repository of dark knowledge and forbidden secrets. The allure of the forbidden knowledge it contained drew her in like a moth to a flame. In her desire to explore the secrets of the book, Mia unwittingly stepped into the witches' circle, her presence interrupting their ritual. The coven's masked eyes turned towards her, their expressions hidden beneath grotesque visages. For a moment, the forest fell into a heavy silence, the tension palpable. One of the witches, with a mask of twisted thorns and gnarled roots, stepped forward and raised a gnarled finger. "You have interrupted our sacred rites, intruder," she hissed. "You must pay the price." Fear coursed through Mia as she realized the danger she had stumbled upon. She pleaded for forgiveness, explaining that her curiosity had led her here, that she meant no harm. But the witches were unrelenting, their faces obscured and their motives shrouded in darkness. The coven began a ritual, their chants growing louder and more sinister. The Tome of Shadows, open to a page filled with arcane symbols, emitted an unholy glow that surrounded me. She felt her limbs grow heavy, her vision blurred, and her senses distorted. The forest seemed to close in around her as she was transported to a realm of shadows and despair. Here, spirits of the past and creatures of the night circled, whispering dark secrets and enticing her with promises of power and knowledge. Mia's mind teetered on the brink of madness as the witches chanted, the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurring. In her heart, she knew that she must fight to regain her freedom and break the witches' hold on her. With every ounce of strength she could muster, Mia seized the curse book, its pages crackling with dark energy. The forest shook as she recited an incantation of her own, one she had learned from the very book she sought to possess. The ground trembled beneath her, and the witches' faces twisted in horror as their own power turned against them. The enchantment broke, the realm of shadows dissipating like smoke in the wind. Mia found herself back in the clearing, the coven of witches defeated and the Tome of Shadows safely in her hands. Her newfound knowledge, however, came at a great cost. As she gazed upon the defeated witches, their masks now devoid of life, Mia understood the perilous allure of forbidden knowledge. The power of the arcane came with a darkness that could consume even the most curious of hearts. Mia returned from Blackwood Forest, the Tome of Shadows a heavy burden. She sealed it away, vowing to protect the world from its malevolent secrets. The forest, once foreboding and enchanted, was silent, as if it too had absorbed the lesson of the night. As you listen to this tale, remember that the allure of forbidden knowledge can be a treacherous path, leading those who seek it into realms of darkness and danger. The witches of Blackwood Forest serve as a chilling reminder that some secrets are better left undiscovered, for the consequences of meddling with the arcane can be dire and irreversible. Story 5. The Phantom Carnival. Halloween night settled over the town like a thick shroud, and there, at the edge of it all, stood the abandoned carnival of forgotten dreams. The carnival, long past its heyday, had become a decaying maze of rusted rides and faded banners, a place where memories of laughter had turned to echoes of despair. Amidst the decaying rides and crumbling booths was Sam, a thrill-seeker with an insatiable appetite for adventure. The stories of the Phantom Carnival had drawn him in. Whispers of ghostly performers and malevolent spirits that walked the fog-laden grounds on this darkest of nights. The thrill of exploring the macabre and the unknown enticed him. As Sam ventured deeper into the carnival, he could feel the weight of the past pressing in around him. The rusted skeletons of rides stood as silent sentinels, their colorful paint long faded into shades of gray. Tattered banners flapped in the breeze, their vibrant promises of joy and wonder now mocking specters of their former selves. With each step, Sam sensed an eerie presence, the feeling of being watched by invisible eyes. He pressed on, his pulse quickening and his breath visible in the chill of the night. His curiosity outweighed his fear. As he approached the heart of the carnival, the once lively midway, Sam stumbled upon a carousel frozen in time. Its horses, intricately carved and adorned with brass and crystal, stood motionless, their glass eyes gleaming with a sinister light. The haunting tune of the calliope organ filled the air, though no one was there to play it. With a mix of trepidation and fascination, Sam mounted one of the carousel horses, and with a creak, the ride began to turn. Its ghostly occupants, the riders of yesteryear, came to life, their hollow eyes staring ahead with a sense of longing and despair. They beckoned Sam to join them, their spectral hands reaching out. Fear surged through Sam as he realized that he was caught in a macabre carnival ride, unable to escape the grasp of the ghostly riders. The carousel spun faster and faster, a maddening whirl of colors and haunting melodies, and Sam's vision blurred as he was drawn into the ghostly world of the past. As the ride slowed to a halt, Sam found himself in an unsettling carnival parade. Ghostly performers in tattered costumes danced and twirled around him, their laughter and music hollow and eerie. The parade moved through the carnival, its spectral procession a nightmarish display of forgotten joy. In the distance, Sam spotted a malevolent figure, the ringmaster of this spectral carnival. His top hat and twisted grin sent shivers down Sam's spine. The ringmaster beckoned him closer, and Sam couldn't resist. He was drawn into the ringmaster's dark circus, unable to escape the lure of the unknown. As Sam ventured deeper into the circus, he discovered a series of sideshow acts that defied logic and reason. The bearded lady, with her wild, untamed hair, sang a mournful song of loss. The fire eater, with a skeletal grin, devoured flames that danced and flickered with ghostly light. And the contortionist, her body twisted and grotesque, moved with an eerie grace that chilled Sam to the bone. With each act, the malevolent spirits of the carnival grew stronger, their grip on Sam tightening. The carnival had become a nightmarish realm where the thrills of the past were paid for with an eternity of suffering. As the night wore on, Sam's courage waned, and he realized that he was trapped in this dark carnival, unable to escape the malevolent spirits that sought to claim him. The rides and performers that had once entertained had become instruments of torment, and Sam had become an unwitting participant in their sinister show. Desperate to break free from the grip of the malevolent spirits, Sam stumbled upon a mysterious tent, its entrance marked by an ancient and ominous sigil. Inside, he discovered a fortune teller, her crystal ball aglow with an eerie light. She beckoned Sam to gaze into the ball, and as he did, he saw a vision of the carnival's past. In the vision, he witnessed the carnival's rise and fall, the greed and exploitation that had led to its downfall, and the anguish of the spirits who had been wronged. Sam understood that the malevolent spirits sought revenge, their suffering and anger manifesting in the haunting spectacle of the carnival. With newfound knowledge and determination, Sam confronted the ringmaster, the source of the malevolent spirit's power. He challenged the ringmaster, demanding that the carnival's cycle of torment be broken. In a chilling showdown, Sam uncovered the truth behind the malevolent spirits and the consequences of seeking thrills at the expense of others. As you listen to this tale, remember that the pursuit of thrills and adventure can come at a high cost, especially when it involves the exploitation and suffering of others. The Phantom Carnival serves as a haunting reminder that the allure of the unknown can lead to dark and perilous places, where the line between curiosity and malevolence blurs, and the price of indulgence is often paid in eternity. Story 6. The Ghostly Children of Willow Street. Halloween night descended over Willow Street, casting a desolate and eerie ambience over the once quiet neighborhood. Mark, a skeptic by nature, had recently moved to this old and forgotten street, seeking a fresh start and a sense of solitude. Little did he know that Willow Street held secrets that would challenge his skepticism and plunge him into the darkest of mysteries. As Mark settled into his new home, he couldn't help but notice that the neighborhood held a heavy atmosphere, as if the very air whispered tales of sorrow and loss. The houses on Willow Street stood in varying degrees of disrepair, their peeling paint and broken windows bearing witness to years of neglect. Yet, it was the abandoned playground at the end of the street that caught Mark's attention. The rusted swings creaked with each gust of wind, and the old slide was cracked and weathered. It was a place that seemed frozen in time, a relic of a bygone era. Mark had heard tales from the neighbors about the children who had disappeared from this street years ago, leaving behind a haunting emptiness that still lingered. One night, as Mark settled into his new home, he heard faint whispers, soft and haunting, carried by the autumn breeze. They seemed to come from the old playground, and though he couldn't discern the words, their eerie presence sent a shiver down his spine. He was not a believer in the supernatural, but the air of Willow Street held secrets he could not ignore. The haunting whispers continued, growing louder and more persistent with each passing night. Mark's skepticism gave way to curiosity, and he began to investigate the playground, searching for the source of the eerie voices. He soon discovered a collection of mysterious drawings etched into the aged wood of the playground's equipment. The drawings depicted scenes of children playing, their faces filled with joy and innocence. But as Mark examined them more closely, he realized that there was a sense of melancholy in the drawings, a hint of sorrow that was impossible to ignore. It was as if the children had captured a moment of happiness frozen in time, yet tinged with the knowledge of impending tragedy. Mark decided to dig deeper into the history of Willow Street, searching for clues about the lost children. As he delved into old records and faded newspaper articles, he uncovered a heartbreaking tale of a group of children who had mysteriously vanished one Halloween night many years ago. Their disappearance had remained unsolved, a dark cloud hanging over Willow Street. With the weight of the past bearing down on him, Mark felt compelled to uncover the truth. He sought out the help of his neighbors, hoping to gather information and insights into the lost children. Together, they decided to conduct a midnight seance at the playground, a last-ditch effort to communicate with the spirits that seemed to linger in the shadows. As the clock struck midnight on Halloween, Mark and his neighbors gathered around the old playground, their hearts heavy with anticipation. With candles flickering in the darkness and a makeshift seance circle drawn on the ground, they began to call out to the lost children, their voices trembling with uncertainty. At first, there was only silence, the night air heavy with the weight of the past. But then, as if in response to their pleas, the playground came alive with a ghostly glow. The swings swayed gently in the wind, and the drawings on the playground equipment seemed to come to life, the figures of the lost children dancing and playing before their eyes. The children's spirits, though ethereal and transparent, radiated a sense of innocence and longing. They spoke in whispers, their voices filled with sadness and a desire to be remembered. They revealed the tragic events of that fateful Halloween night, when they had disappeared without a trace, leaving their families and the neighborhood in a state of perpetual mourning. As the seance continued, Mark and his neighbors listened intently, their skepticism vanquished by the overwhelming presence of the lost children. The children spoke of the pain of being forgotten and the anguish of never having their stories told. They yearned to be remembered, to have their names spoken once more. With newfound determination, Mark and his neighbors embarked on a mission to uncover the truth about the lost children of Willow Street. They delved into archives and records, piecing together the events that had led to their disappearance. Through their efforts, they were able to bring the children's stories to light, honoring their memory and finally giving them the recognition they deserved. As you listen to this tale, remember that the impact of unresolved past tragedies can linger, casting a haunting shadow over a neighborhood and its inhabitants. The ghostly children of Willow Street serves as a chilling reminder of the importance of remembering those who have been forgotten, and the profound impact that the past can have on the present. Story 7: The Cursed Costume Shop. Halloween night draped the world in its chilling embrace, and within the dimly lit streets of the town, an old, unassuming costume shop named Sartorial Shadows beckoned to those seeking the extraordinary. Olivia, a costume enthusiast with a love for the strange and unique, had heard whispers of the peculiar shop from fellow enthusiasts, and had decided to pay a visit. As she stepped inside, the shop exuded an eerie aura that sent shivers down her spine. The shelves were lined with costumes of a bygone era, their fabrics whispering tales of long-forgotten characters and eras. The shop's owner, a sinister figure with a sardonic smile, watched her closely, his eyes gleaming with a malevolent gleam. Among the rows of costumes, Olivia's gaze fell upon a peculiar ensemble that seemed out of place amidst the others. It was an elaborate dress that appeared to belong to a time long past, its fabric rich and opulent. Olivia's fingers traced the intricate details, and as she touched the dress, a sense of foreboding washed over her. The shop owner approached, his voice a low, sinister purr. "Ah, the masquerader's finery. A unique choice, my dear. It's said to be the most extraordinary costume ever created. You would be the life of any party." Olivia hesitated but couldn't resist the allure of the costume. She purchased it, feeling as if she were embarking on a transformation into a character of a bygone era. That night, as she prepared for a Halloween party, Olivia donned the masquerader's finery. The dress fit her like a second skin, and the moment it touched her, she felt a rush of energy and an uncanny transformation. It was as if the costume had a life of its own, molding itself to her body and her essence. When Olivia looked in the mirror, she saw not her own reflection, but that of the character the dress represented, a captivating figure from a forgotten era. Her eyes had taken on a strange, otherworldly hue, and her movements were graceful and calculated. She was the masquerader, a character whose story was shrouded in mystery. As Olivia arrived at the Halloween party, she felt a profound shift in her identity. She moved with an elegance and charisma that drew the attention of everyone in attendance. The guests marveled at her, unable to look away from the enchanting presence she exuded. The party soon took on a surreal and eerie atmosphere. The other guests, donning their own costumes, began to feel as though they had become the characters they portrayed. The line between reality and illusion blurred, and the once joyous celebration took on a disconcerting and unpredictable quality. As Olivia navigated the party, she noticed that the shop owner had also appeared in a costume, though his sinister presence remained unchanged. He watched her with a malevolent smile, his eyes revealing a knowing glint. It was clear that the costume in the shop held a power beyond anything Olivia had imagined. As the night wore on, the guests grew increasingly entangled in their new identities, unable to break free from the personas they had adopted. It was as if the costumes had become a curse, locking them into roles they could not escape. Panic and confusion spread among the partygoers as they struggled to regain control over their own identities. Olivia realized that she had to find a way to break the curse, to free herself and the others from the relentless grip of the costumes. She turned to the shop owner, the one who seemed to hold the key to their fate, and confronted him. With a malevolent grin, the shop owner revealed the truth. The costumes of sartorial shadows were not mere outfits. They were vessels of ancient magic, imbued with the ability to transform those who wore them into the characters they represented. The curse was an unintended consequence of the magic, a side effect that had trapped the wearers in their roles. Olivia, determined to save herself and the others, demanded a solution. The shop owner, amused by her tenacity, presented a cryptic riddle that held the key to breaking the curse. With time running out, Olivia deciphered the riddle, realizing that the answer lay in the power of identity and transformation. To break free from the curse, she needed to embrace her true self, rejecting the enchantment of the costume that had consumed her. In a dramatic act of self-realization, Olivia shed the masquerader's finery and returned to her own identity. The moment she removed the dress, the curse began to unravel. The other partygoers followed her lead, casting off their costumes one by one. As the last traces of the curse dissipated, the shop owner's sinister demeanor transformed into one of grudging admiration. He had underestimated Olivia's determination and resourcefulness. The partygoers, now free from the costume's grasp, emerged from their enchantment, bewildered and grateful. Olivia, with her newfound knowledge and understanding of the costume's magic, took it upon herself to safeguard the shop's dark secret, ensuring that no one else would fall victim to its cursed allure. As you listen to this tale, remember that the power of identity and transformation can be a double-edged sword. The cursed costume shop serves as a chilling reminder that the allure of becoming someone else can come at a high cost, and the consequences of embracing a new identity can be far more profound than one might imagine. Story 8. The Phantoms of All Hallows Manor on a moonlit Halloween night. The imposing All Hallows Manor loomed in the distance, its towering spires and shadowed windows casting eerie silhouettes against the night sky. The manor had long been the subject of ghostly tales and whispered legends, a place where restless spirits were said to wander. David, a seasoned paranormal investigator with a relentless curiosity, had heard the stories of All Hallows Manor for years. Determined to uncover the truth behind the haunted estate, he had come to spend the night within its walls, armed with his equipment and an unwavering skepticism. As David crossed the threshold into the manor, a sudden chill settled over him, and the air seemed to thicken with anticipation. The ornate grand hall, adorned with dusty chandeliers and faded portraits, felt like a place where time had stopped. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, and the silence was deafening. With each step, David's skepticism waned, and he couldn't help but feel as though the manor itself watched him with an uncanny awareness. He knew he was in a place where the line between the living and the dead blurred, and the pursuit of truth was a perilous endeavor. David began his investigation, his equipment recording every sound and fluctuation in the air. He explored the dimly lit hallways, his footsteps echoing through the empty chambers. It wasn't long before he began to experience strange occurrences, inexplicable and unnerving. Doors creaked open of their own accord, and phantom footsteps echoed through the hallways. A chill breeze seemed to sweep through rooms, extinguishing candles and sending shivers down David's spine. His skepticism was tested as he captured faint, ghostly whispers on his recording equipment. As the night wore on, David couldn't deny the presence of restless spirits within the manor. Apparitions flickered in his peripheral vision, their faces etched with sorrow and longing. They appeared and disappeared, as if seeking to communicate some hidden truth. David, undeterred by the spectral revelations, decided to conduct a seance in an attempt to communicate with the spirits. He lit a circle of candles in the grand hall, their flickering flames casting eerie, dancing shadows on the walls. As he began to call out to the spirits, the manor seemed to respond with a sudden surge of energy. The temperature dropped, and the candles flickered wildly, their flames burning an otherworldly blue. A spectral presence filled the room, and David felt as though he were not alone. The spirits, restless and eager to communicate, began to reveal their stories. Through David's questions, he learned that All Hallows Manor was a place of torment for the spirits who dwelled within. They were trapped, unable to move on to the afterlife, bound to the manor by a tragic history of betrayal and violence. The manor had become their prison, and they longed to be free. As the seance continued, David felt a sense of empathy and connection with the spirits. He realized that they were not malevolent entities but lost souls yearning for release. In a dramatic revelation, the spirits conveyed a message that held the key to their salvation. With the newfound knowledge, David ventured deeper into the manor, guided by the spirits. He uncovered a hidden chamber, long forgotten and concealed from the living world. In the chamber, he found a collection of personal mementos and a journal that detailed the manor's grim history. The journal revealed a story of greed, betrayal, and tragedy. The manor's former owner had deceived and wronged those who had served him, leading to a series of brutal and unjust deaths. The spirits were the victims of a dark and unresolved past, their torment a consequence of the atrocities committed within the manor's walls. David understood that the only way to free the spirits was to reveal the truth of their tragic history. He documented the story and the spirits' plea for redemption, vowing to share it with the world. With the Spirit's guidance, David performed a ritual of release, allowing the restless souls to find peace and move on to the afterlife. As he did, the manor seemed to sigh in relief, its malevolent presence dissipating, and the air grew lighter. As you listen to this tale, remember that the pursuit of truth in the face of the unknown can lead to discoveries that challenge our skepticism and understanding of the supernatural. The Phantoms of All Hallows Manor serves as a haunting reminder that the past can cast a long shadow, and sometimes it takes a determined investigator to shine a light on the darkness and grant restless spirits the redemption they seek. Story 9: The Witching Hour at the Abandoned Asylum. On a moonless Halloween night, an abandoned and decrepit asylum stood as a shadowy sentinel on the outskirts of town, a grim relic of the past. Lisa, a thrill-seeker known for her courage and love of the eerie, had heard tales of the asylum's terrifying history and had decided to test her limits with an exploration of its haunted halls. She was joined by a group of friends, equally drawn to the macabre. As they approached the asylum, its sinister presence loomed large, its crumbling facade and broken windows casting grotesque shapes in the moonlight. The friends had brought flashlights, eager to uncover the secrets that lay within the dark and forbidding structure. They had heard the stories, the tales of the asylum's gruesome past, the experiments gone wrong, and the tormented souls that still lingered within. It was said that the place had been cursed, a repository of suffering and malevolent spirits. Lisa's friends urged caution, warning her of the danger of trespassing into such a place. But her insatiable curiosity overruled their fears. She pushed open the asylum's creaking door, and they stepped inside, the air thick with an oppressive atmosphere. The asylum was a maze of decayed hallways and long-forgotten rooms. The walls bore the marks of insanity, covered in graffiti and the remnants of desperate messages left by those who had once been confined within. The friends' flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing unsettling scenes of abandoned beds and rusted restraints. As they ventured deeper into the asylum, they began to experience a series of unexplainable events. Shadows seemed to move on their own, whispers echoed through the hallways, and cold spots sent shivers down their spines. Lisa's friends grew increasingly uneasy, their laughter turning to anxious glances. In one room, they stumbled upon a pile of discarded dolls, their eyes empty and lifeless. Lisa felt a chill creep over her, and the sense that they were being watched by unseen eyes intensified. Her friends suggested leaving, but Lisa's determination to uncover the asylum's secrets urged her forward. They reached the heart of the asylum, a chamber with crumbling walls and a broken, ancient pentagram etched onto the floor. Lisa's flashlight flickered, and an eerie chill filled the room as they sensed the presence of something malevolent. Suddenly, a spectral figure emerged, a tortured soul with hollow eyes and outstretched arms. The figure whispered incoherent words, its voice a guttural, anguished cry. The friends recoiled in terror, their hearts pounding. The entity's presence grew stronger, and a nightmarish vision enveloped the group. They saw glimpses of the asylum's horrific past, the torment and suffering that had taken place within its walls. It was a place of madness, where the line between reality and delusion blurred. Lisa and her friends were trapped within the vision, unable to escape the overwhelming horror that engulfed them. The malevolent entity seemed to feed on their fear, growing stronger with each passing moment. As the vision continued, the entity's grip on them tightened, and it became clear that their only hope was to flee the asylum. They stumbled through the dark hallways, pursued by the relentless specter that haunted the asylum's cursed halls. The friends' fear was palpable, their footsteps echoing in a frantic race for survival. The entity's voice grew louder, its wails of torment echoing through the asylum, sending shivers down their spines. Lisa knew that they were running out of time, that the malevolent entity sought to claim their souls, adding them to the roster of tormented spirits that haunted the asylum. With every ounce of strength and determination, they pushed forward, reaching the asylum's entrance. As they burst through the asylum's doors, the malevolent presence seemed to dissipate, leaving them gasping for breath in the moonlit night. The asylum stood silent and foreboding behind them, its secrets still locked within. Lisa and her friends had survived their encounter with the malevolent entity, but they had also learned a chilling lesson about the consequences of trespassing into forbidden and haunted places. The asylum's dark history and the torment of the spirits that dwelled within served as a terrifying reminder of the perilous allure of the unknown. As you listen to this tale, remember that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried in the past for a reason. The witching hour at the abandoned asylum serves as a haunting testament to the price one can pay for curiosity, and the perils of venturing into the shadows of places that should never be disturbed. Story 10: The Curse of the Jack-o'-lanterns. In a small and sinister town, where autumn winds whispered secrets through the withered leaves, Halloween night was a time of both celebration and dread. The townsfolk gathered in the center square to take part in the annual pumpkin carving tradition, an event that concealed a dark and ancient curse known to only a select few. Alex, a curious teenager with a penchant for unraveling mysteries, had grown up in the town but had always been an outsider. On this Halloween night, the lure of the town's most enigmatic tradition drew Alex closer to the heart of the community's secret. The townspeople had gathered, each clutching a pumpkin, eager to partake in the age-old ritual. They carved grotesque and sinister faces into their pumpkins, a reflection of the town's dark history. The carvings bore witness to the curse that bound the town, a curse that demanded a sacrifice every Halloween night to appease the malevolent spirits that haunted the town. As Alex watched the carvings unfold, the eerie atmosphere weighed heavily on their shoulders. The faces that emerged on the jack-o'-lanterns seemed to contort with malevolence, their eyes filled with a sinister gleam. The town's tradition, once a source of excitement, had taken on a foreboding and macabre quality. The townspeople carved their pumpkins with a grim determination, their faces somber and their hands trembling. Each of them knew the dark history that was tied to the tradition, the curse that had haunted their town for generations. As the night fell, the townspeople gathered their jack-o'-lanterns, now imbued with an otherworldly glow, and arranged them in a circle in the center square. The flickering candles within the pumpkins cast eerie shadows that danced across the cobblestones. The ritual was about to begin. The town's elder, a mysterious figure with eyes that seemed to hold ancient secrets, stepped forward to guide the ritual. The townspeople recited incantations, their voices trembling, and a palpable sense of dread filled the air. As the incantations reached their climax, the jack-o'-lantern's flames blazed with an unnatural intensity. The ground trembled, and a malevolent presence descended upon the square. The ritual had begun, and the town's fate hung in the balance. As the ritual continued, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the town was on the brink of a catastrophe. The ancient curse that bound the town demanded a sacrifice, and as the jack-o'-lanterns blazed with an otherworldly fire, the spirits that haunted the town grew more restless. Suddenly, the elder's voice cracked, and the incantation faltered. The ritual had been disrupted, and a sense of panic rippled through the crowd. The town's tradition had been disrupted, and the curse's hunger remained unsatisfied. As the night wore on, the townspeople retreated to their homes, leaving the cursed jack-o'-lanterns in the square. Alex, driven by an insatiable curiosity, remained behind, determined to uncover the truth behind the curse and its malevolent origins. As the moon hung low in the sky, a supernatural force beckoned Alex toward the jack-o'-lanterns. The carved faces on the pumpkins contorted with an eerie life of their own, their eyes locking onto Alex. The pumpkins whispered secrets of torment and sacrifice, and Alex knew that they held the key to breaking the curse that had haunted the town for centuries. With trembling hands, Alex touched one of the jack-o'-lanterns, and a vision of the town's dark history flooded their mind. They saw the curse's origins, the pact that had been made with vengeful spirits, and the sacrifices that had been demanded year after year. The burden of the town's tradition became painfully clear. Alex realized that to break the curse, they would need to confront the malevolent spirits that had haunted the town. The spirits sought vengeance for the sacrifices that had been made, and they were bound to the jack-o'-lanterns, tethered to the cursed tradition. In a daring act, Alex gathered the jack-o'-lanterns and ventured into the town's ancient cemetery, where the spirits were said to dwell. The spirits, restless and malevolent, appeared before Alex, their faces twisted with anger. The showdown was tense, as Alex pleaded with the spirits for forgiveness and understanding. They explained that the town's tradition had perpetuated a cycle of suffering, and it was time to break free from the curse's grip. The spirits' anger began to wane, and they agreed to release the town from the curse. With the spirits' blessing, Alex returned to the town square and shattered the jack-o'-lanterns, the symbols of the town's dark past. As the pumpkins broke, the curse's malevolent presence dissipated, and a sense of relief washed over the town. The townspeople awoke to a new day, the first Halloween in generations free from the curse's shadow. The town's elder, now free from the curse's grasp, thanked Alex for their courage and determination. As you listen to this tale, remember the power of tradition and the weight of ancient curses. The curse of the jack-o'-lantern serves as a haunting reminder that sometimes the most cherished traditions can hold dark secrets, and breaking free from the past's grip requires great courage and determination. The haunting of Blackwood Manor. On the outskirts of a small, forgotten town stood an old and decrepit mansion. Its name had long been whispered through the chilling winds of autumn, Blackwood Manor. The townsfolk knew to avoid it, for it was said that dark and unnatural things dwelled within. But in the midst of Halloween night, as shadows lengthened and moonlight cast an eerie glow, one brave soul, Sarah, dared to step into the realm of the unknown. Sarah was no stranger to dares, especially those concocted by her fearless friends. The chilling tales of Blackwood Manor were no more than fuel for their mischief. On this Halloween, as the dare took form, Sarah found herself standing before the looming gates, a shiver coursing down her spine. She gazed at the mansion, its windows dark and brooding, and the sky above cast in a cloak of foreboding clouds. Tightening her grip on the cold iron gate, Sarah hesitated. Her friends, hidden in the shadows, urged her forward. Heart pounding, she pushed the creaking gate open and stepped onto the cobblestone path leading to the mansion. The atmosphere was oppressive, heavy with secrets that time had forgotten. As she approached the entrance, a gust of wind whispered through the overgrown garden, and the rustling leaves seemed to form ghostly murmurs. The heavy oak door creaked open at her touch, as if inviting her into the enigma that was Blackwood Manor. The mansion's interior was a labyrinth of darkened hallways and shadowed chambers. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and dust motes danced in the dim light, giving the illusion of ethereal beings flitting about. Sarah's footsteps echoed as she ventured further into the gloom, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. As she explored, she came across an ornate mirror. Its surface was clouded with age, and the reflection it held was distorted and ghostly. A chill passed through her as she glimpsed the semblance of a shadowy figure standing behind her, but when she turned, there was no one there. Her heart raced. "Who's there?" Sarah called out, her voice quivering. She was met with an eerie silence. Her bravado was waning, but the dare weighed heavily upon her. She continued through the mansion, the walls seeming to close in around her. Moments later, she entered a grand, dimly lit room adorned with moth-eaten tapestries and ancient, dusty furniture. At the center of the room stood a colossal, ancient grandfather clock, its pendulum swinging with a rhythmic cadence. She couldn't resist approaching it, for curiosity had gripped her. As Sarah reached out to touch the clock's tarnished brass, its chimes struck midnight. The sound resonated through the house, and Sarah shivered. Suddenly, the pendulum ceased its motion, and the clock's face twisted, revealing a dark, hidden compartment. Sarah hesitated before gingerly opening it. Within, she found a bundle of letters, their paper fragile with age. The letters were addressed to Eleanor Blackwood and spoke of lost love and heartbreak, the anguish of someone who had been consumed by despair. They detailed a life that had been spent in solitude, locked away from the world. The revelation of these letters sent a chill down her spine, and Sarah suddenly became acutely aware that she was not alone in the room. A shadow moved in the corner of her eye, and when she turned, she saw a figure cloaked in darkness, a man with hollow eyes and pallid skin, Mr. Blackwood, the reclusive owner of the mansion. In a voice like a whispering wind, he said, "You were not meant to find those letters, my dear." His presence was eerie, and his eyes bore into her, revealing a deep sorrow that seemed to stretch beyond the bounds of the mortal world. Sarah stammered, "I didn't mean to intrude. I was just exploring." Mr. Blackwood's gaze remained fixed on her, unrelenting. "Curiosity has a price, dear Sarah. The stories of this place are not without reason. My secrets, my solitude, are my burden to bear." With each word he spoke, the room grew darker and the air grew colder. The walls of the mansion seemed to close in around her as if the very building itself were attempting to swallow her whole. As terror gripped her, Sarah stumbled backward, leaving the letters behind. She rushed out of the room, her heart pounding, as Mr. Blackwood's mournful voice echoed in the corridors. The mansion itself seemed to conspire against her, with doors slamming shut and portraits whispering inaudible secrets. The nightmarish journey through Blackwood Manor continued, as Sarah sought a way to escape the grasp of the vengeful spirit who called it home. It was a night she would never forget, a night where curiosity had indeed come with its consequences. Halloween night at Blackwood Manor was not just a dare. It was a descent into the heart of darkness, where the supernatural met the all-too-real world of a once tormented soul. As Sarah emerged from the mansion, her friends, pale and shaken, could see the terror etched in her eyes. The haunted mansion had revealed its secrets and left an indelible mark on Sarah's soul, for Blackwood Manor was not merely a house, it was a cursed vessel of the past, a place where curiosity met the supernatural and paid the price for daring to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden within. The witch's reckoning. In the heart of a dense and fog-shrouded forest lay a small, forgotten village, one that dared not venture beyond the boundaries of the woods. It was a place where secrets were whispered amongst the trees, and where the townsfolk lived in perpetual fear. At the center of their dread was a young witch, Emily, who had lived on the outskirts of the village for as long as anyone could remember. The forest enveloped the village like a shroud, its ancient trees harboring mysteries untold. On the night of All Hallows' Eve, as the moon hung low and pale, the villagers gathered around the flickering lanterns in the town square. The dread in the air was palpable, and the reason was clear. It was the witching hour, the darkest moment of Halloween night, when all manner of spirits and curses were said to roam. Emily had always been an outsider in the village, for her eyes held a gleam of ancient knowledge that the villagers couldn't understand. She lived alone in a small cottage, and her mere presence invoked whispers and side glances from those who passed her by. As superstitions grew, and as misfortunes plagued the village, the townsfolk turned their fear towards the young witch. The accusations began subtly, with hushed conversations behind closed doors, blaming Emily for their hardships. Crops withered, livestock perished, and illness struck, and the villagers grew desperate for someone to blame. In their eyes, Emily was the source of their suffering, a pawn of the supernatural. As Halloween night approached, the tension in the village reached its zenith. The townsfolk, led by a zealous few, gathered outside Emily's cottage, torches and pitchforks in hand. They came to confront the young witch. They had heard whispers of a ritual she was to perform at the witching hour and feared the consequences. Emily stepped outside her cottage, her young face pale, and her eyes filled with the weight of centuries. She knew that the villagers would come, for their dread had become insurmountable. She held a small, leather-bound book in her hands, containing the secrets of her ancestors, the powers that allowed her to communicate with the spirits of the forest. The crowd accused her, their voices a chorus of anger and fear, blaming her for the woes that had befallen them. The shadows grew longer as the witching hour approached, and Emily's fate hung in the balance. "Enough," she cried, her voice carrying an eerie resonance that silenced the crowd. "I am not your enemy, but I can help." She spoke of the ancient pact, one her ancestors had made with the spirits of the forest to protect the village, to ensure its prosperity. It was a pact of sacrifices, and the villagers had forgotten their part. As the clock's hands neared midnight, Emily led the crowd to a clearing deep in the woods, a place of ancient power. They formed a circle, and she placed a silver cauldron in the center, filling it with herbs and incense. The villagers watched in dread and anticipation, unsure of what was to come. With incantations spoken in a language older than memory, Emily lit the cauldron, sending smoke and sparks spiraling into the air. The witching hour had arrived, and the forest grew still, as if holding its breath. Shadows danced on the edges of the clearing, and the villagers shivered. Then, the spirits of the forest began to manifest. Ethereal figures, ancient and solemn, appeared in the mist. They whispered secrets and tales to Emily, revealing the villagers' role in the pact to perform the annual ritual to honor the spirits and ensure the village's prosperity. The revelation weighed heavily on the villagers. They had forgotten their part in the pact, and in doing so, they had unleashed the misfortunes that had befallen them. The spirits' ominous whispers filled the air, recounting the stories of the village's ancestors who had made the pact. Emily implored the villagers to remember their duty, to honor the spirits and uphold the pact. She explained that the curse could only be lifted if they fulfilled their end of the bargain. The villagers listened, their fear gradually giving way to understanding and then to resolve. With the witching hour waning, they promised to perform the annual ritual and uphold the pact. The spirits, appeased by their sincerity, retreated into the forest. The fog began to lift, and the village felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. In the days that followed, the village underwent a transformation. The crops flourished, the livestock thrived, and the villagers found themselves in a state of unprecedented prosperity. The curse had been broken, and the fear that had once filled the air began to dissipate. Emily, though still an outsider, was no longer blamed for the village's woes. She became a guardian of their pact, ensuring that the villagers fulfilled their commitment to the spirits. Over time, her knowledge and power were embraced, and the village came to understand that the unknown could hold both peril and salvation. As the years passed, the witching hour of Halloween night became a time of reverence for the village. The pact served as a reminder that fear of the unknown could lead to suffering, but understanding and cooperation with it could bring prosperity and harmony. In the depths of the fog-shrouded forest, the village lived on, bearing witness to the ancient pact that bound them to the spirits. And Emily, the young witch who had once been shunned, had become the guardian of their shared destiny, a beacon of hope amid the whispers of the trees. The masquerade of shadows in the heart of an opulent, 18th-century mansion. Its grandiose halls adorned with lavish tapestries and crystal chandeliers, a Halloween masquerade was in full swing. The revelers, donning ornate masks and elaborate costumes, danced and laughed beneath the flickering candlelight. Among the attendees was Cassandra, a socialite of unparalleled beauty and grace. Her costume, a flowing gown reminiscent of the finest silks of centuries past, added to her allure. Yet, as she moved through the opulent crowd, it was not her costume that drew attention but the aura of mystique she carried. As the evening wore on, an air of enchantment descended upon the mansion, and the revelers embraced the allure of the masquerade. Cassandra, however, felt a pull toward the mysterious and the unknown. She had always been captivated by tales of the supernatural, and it was on this Halloween night that her fascination would lead her to a dance with darkness. Amidst the swirl of masked guests and the ethereal strains of the chamber music, Cassandra found herself drawn to a figure shrouded in secrecy. The stranger wore a mask of ivory, a stark contrast to the vibrant hues that filled the room. Their presence was disconcerting, and Cassandra couldn't help but be intrigued. The mysterious guest stood alone in the corner of the grand hall, their mask hiding their identity. Cassandra approached, her heart beating in rhythm with the haunting melodies that filled the air. She spoke first, her voice soft as she addressed the masked figure. "Why do you linger in the shadows?" The stranger turned toward her, their eyes hidden behind the mask, but Cassandra could feel the weight of their gaze. They spoke, their voice a whisper. "I have a tale to share, a story that dances on the edge of reality and illusion, much like this masquerade." Intrigued, Cassandra invited the stranger to share their story. They led her to a more secluded part of the mansion, away from the revelry and the prying eyes of the other guests. There, beneath the soft glow of an antique candelabrum, the stranger began to weave a narrative of chilling beauty. The tale was of a bygone era, a time when the mansion had been home to a grand family. The family had hosted opulent masquerades and their own dark secrets, including a forbidden love that had led to a tragic demise. The stranger's words painted vivid images of the past, and Cassandra was enraptured by their storytelling. As the story unfolded, the line between reality and illusion became blurred. Cassandra felt as though she had stepped into a ghostly tableau of the past, the walls of the mansion echoing with the specters of long-forgotten guests. The stranger's words held a mesmerizing power, and the atmosphere grew increasingly terrifying. The tale reached its climax with a haunting revelation. The mansion itself was haunted by the spirits of the past, and Cassandra was dancing amidst their world. The stranger removed their mask, revealing eyes that glowed with a spectral light. Cassandra's heart raced as she realized the truth. She had become a part of the stranger's story, drawn into a world where the past and present intertwined in a dance of darkness. The mansion's grand hall, once filled with revelry, was now populated by shadowy figures, their masks concealing the horrors of their existence. The laughter had turned to eerie whispers, and the chamber music had become a mournful dirge. Cassandra was trapped in a nightmare, a masquerade of shadows that threatened to consume her. Desperation gripped Cassandra, and she sought to escape the spectral dance. The stranger, their eyes now filled with a haunting sadness, extended a hand to her. "You can leave this world, but only if you carry the weight of our secrets with you," they whispered. Cassandra knew that her only chance lay in accepting the stranger's offer. She reached out, and the moment their hands touched, a surge of cold energy coursed through her. She was pulled from the mansion's spectral embrace, the echoes of the past fading as she found herself back in the grand hall. The masquerade returned to its opulent splendor. The revelers continued their festivities, unaware of the dark journey Cassandra had undertaken. She stood alone, her heart heavy with the secrets she now carried, her encounter with the supernatural etched into her very being. As the night drew to a close, Cassandra made her way to the exit, the mansion's facade illuminated by the first light of dawn. She could no longer deny the existence of the supernatural, nor the blurred line between reality and illusion. Her encounter with the mysterious stranger had left an indelible mark, a reminder of the elegance and terror that could coexist in the world. The masquerade of shadows had ended, but Cassandra's dance with darkness would linger in her dreams, a haunting memory of a Halloween night where the boundary between the real and the supernatural had been irrevocably crossed. The grand mansion stood in silence, its walls echoing with the secrets of the past, and the masked revelers, unaware of the chilling tale that had unfolded within their midst, continued to dance in the fading moonlight, oblivious to the elegant yet terrifying world of the supernatural. The haunting on Elm Street. On a quiet suburban street, nestled under the canopy of autumn's rustling trees, the Anderson family had just moved into their new home. It was Halloween night, a time when the veil between the living and the dead grew thin, and the neighborhood hummed with the energy of trick-or-treaters. For the Andersons, however, their new house held more than they had bargained for. The house, a charming colonial with a white picket fence, bore an eerie stillness as the family settled in. Halloween had fallen on moving day, and there was a chill in the air that had nothing to do with the season. The Andersons, John, Sarah, and their young daughter, Emily, tried to shake off the unsettling feeling that seemed to hang in the corners of every room. The first night in their new home was uneventful, but as Halloween gave way to November, strange phenomena began to unfold. Objects moved of their own accord, whispers echoed in the dead of night, and shadowy figures flickered in the periphery of their vision. Emily's dreams were haunted by a malevolent spirit, one that beckoned her from the dark corners of her mind. The family was hesitant to speak of their experiences, fearing that their neighbors might think them superstitious or worse. But the occurrences became increasingly unsettling, and they could no longer dismiss them as mere coincidence. One evening, as the Andersons sat down for dinner, their plates lifted from the table and shattered against the wall. The room filled with an eerie silence as they stared in disbelief, their fear crystallizing into something tangible. It was then that Sarah, her voice shaking, broached the subject. "We can't ignore this any longer. We have to find out what's happening in this house." John, ever the rationalist, agreed. "You're right. We need to get to the bottom of this. We can't keep living in fear." They began to research the history of the house, tracing its ownership back through the years. They discovered that it had once belonged to a reclusive widow, Eleanor, who had been shunned by the townsfolk and was said to have dabbled in the occult. Emily, too, had sensed the malevolent presence in the house, her dreams growing more vivid and terrifying. The figure that had haunted her had a name, Eleanor. It was as if the spirit sought to communicate, to share the horrors of its past. Desperate to find answers, the Andersons turned to a seance, a desperate attempt to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. They lit candles and held hands, seeking a connection to the spirit that haunted their home. As they called out to Alina, the room grew cold, and the candles flickered violently. The atmosphere was charged with electricity, and Emily, her eyes vacant, began to speak in a voice that was not her own. It was the voice of Alina, who had been wronged, betrayed, and cast aside in life, and now sought retribution in death. I was shunned, the voice intoned, and now you will share my suffering. The seance spiraled into chaos, the malevolent force taking hold of the room. The house shook, and the windows rattled, as the Andersons struggled to break free from the ghostly grip. Emily's voice, still echoing with the spirit of Alina, spoke of the horrors that had transpired in the house, her words chilling to the core. As the seance came to an end, the room fell into an eerie silence. Emily, her eyes returning to their usual innocence, had no memory of what had transpired. The malevolent spirit, however, had grown stronger, fueled by the Andersons' desperation to communicate with the other side. The haunting escalated, and the Andersons were thrust into a nightmare they couldn't escape. Alina's vengeful spirit seemed intent on inflicting the same suffering on the family that she had endured in life. Sarah, the pillar of the family, refused to let the malevolent spirit tear them apart. She turned to the knowledge she had gained from their research, attempting to perform a ritual that could banish the spirit from their home. The family gathered in the attic, where Sarah had prepared an altar with candles and symbols. The ritual began, and as Sarah chanted incantations, the house quaked with the wrath of the vengeful spirit. The malevolent force fought against their efforts, throwing objects and casting eerie shadows. With each incantation, Sarah's voice grew stronger and the spirit's power waned. A blinding light filled the room, and the malevolent force shrieked in agony. As the light subsided, the spirit was gone, and the house fell silent. Exhausted and relieved, the Andersons held each other in the attic, knowing that they had finally freed their home from the malevolent presence. The weight of the past had been lifted, and they could now live in peace. The haunting on Elm Street had come to an end, and the family had faced their fears and prevailed. They knew that the malevolent spirit had been seeking a connection, a release from its torment, and they had given it just that. The house was theirs once more, cleansed of the horrors of the past, and they could finally live without the specter of Alina hanging over them. The Carnival of Shadows. Halloween night had fallen, casting a shroud of darkness over the world. In the midst of this eerie evening, a thrill-seeker named Jake embarked on a quest to explore the unknown, to confront the deepest fears that resided within the human soul. Little did he know that his journey would take him to the long-abandoned carnival grounds, a place where his darkest nightmares would come to life. The carnival had been left to rot for decades, its attractions rusted, its lights extinguished, and its laughter silenced. It was a place of forgotten dreams and discarded memories, where time had stood still. The only remnants of its former glory were the eerie, faded posters that hinted at the sinister secrets that had once drawn crowds. As Jake ventured deeper into the abandoned carnival, the atmosphere grew surreal, and the air grew heavy with the presence of supernatural entities. The attractions, long dormant, sprang to life. The Ferris wheel creaked and turned, its decrepit carts swinging in an otherworldly dance. The ghost train rattled to life, its phantasmal passengers beckoning him to board. The carousel, though broken and decaying, whirled with malevolent glee, its spectral horses charging forward as if in pursuit. The entire carnival seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, as if the very essence of Halloween night had awakened its malevolent inhabitants. Jake, caught in the grip of both terror and fascination, stepped onto the haunted carousel. As the music played, a ghostly figure appeared before him, a ringmaster of the macabre. He grinned, his teeth jagged and sharp, and beckoned Jake to choose a spectral horse. But as Jake made his choice, the ground beneath the carousel fell away, plunging him into a darkness that seemed to stretch into infinity. The world around him dissolved into a series of nightmarish scenes, each one a tableau of his deepest fears. He found himself in a haunted forest, where shadowy figures whispered secrets and beckoned him to follow. He wandered through a twisted carnival mirror maze, where the reflections of his own fears seemed to mock him. He encountered eerie characters, clowns with hollow eyes, fortune-tellers who revealed his darkest secrets, and ghostly children who played a haunting game of tag. With each encounter, Jake's fear grew, and the line between reality and illusion blurred. The carnival seemed to feed on his terror, as if his very presence had summoned the supernatural entities that now tormented him. Desperation gripped Jake as he sought a way to escape this nightmarish carnival. He remembered the words of a fortune-teller he had encountered earlier, who had cryptically revealed that only by confronting his deepest fears could he hope to break free from the carnival's grip. Determined to face the horrors that haunted him, Jake made his way to the heart of the carnival, where a towering, decrepit circus tent beckoned him. As he stepped inside, he was confronted by a haunting reflection of himself, a doppelganger that embodied all his fears and insecurities. The doppelganger taunted him, whispering his doubts and regrets. It was a battle of wills, a confrontation with his inner demons. With each taunt, Jake's resolve grew stronger, and he began to face the truths that had haunted him for so long. In a surreal and terrifying showdown, Jake finally overcame the doppelganger, a scream of anguish and triumph echoing through the eerie carnival grounds. The supernatural entities that had tormented him began to dissipate, and the carnival attractions returned to their state of decay. As Jake stepped out of the circus tent, he found himself back in the real world. The abandoned carnival, once again a silent and lifeless place. Halloween night had given way to the first light of dawn, and the world outside the carnival was no longer shrouded in darkness. The carnival of shadows had come to an end, and Jake had confronted his deepest fears and emerged victorious. The allure of the unknown had led him to a place of unimaginable horrors, but it was also a journey of self-discovery and triumph. As he walked away from the long-abandoned carnival grounds, Jake knew that the darkness he had faced would stay with him forever, a reminder of the power of fear and the strength of the human spirit. Halloween night had shown him the true nature of terror, and he had emerged from the experience forever changed. The curse of the jack-o'-lantern in the heart of a rural town, nestled under the watchful gaze of a full moon. Tom was known as the farmer who owned the cursed pumpkin patch. The whispered rumors of malevolent spirits and ancient curses had long plagued the patch, but Tom paid them no mind. For years, he had tended to his pumpkins with unwavering dedication, and this Halloween would be no different. The small, rural town buzzed with anticipation as Halloween approached. The air grew crisp, and the leaves rustled with an otherworldly energy. Children and families flocked to Tom's patch, eager to choose the perfect pumpkins for their jack-o'-lanterns. Tom, the weathered farmer, had heard the legends of the cursed patch since he was a boy. The stories spoke of a vengeful spirit that had been bound to the land by a powerful witch centuries ago. It was said that anyone who dared to carve a jack-o'-lantern from a pumpkin plucked from the cursed patch would unleash the spirit, inviting its wrath. But Tom had always dismissed the tales as superstition. To him, the pumpkins were his livelihood, and he couldn't afford to let such legends deter him from his trade. He prided himself on the quality of his pumpkins, and this year he was determined to carve the grandest jack-o'-lantern the town had ever seen. On Halloween night, under the radiant glow of the full moon, Tom chose the plumpest, most vibrant pumpkin from his cursed patch. The pumpkin felt cool to the touch, and its vivid orange skin seemed to pulse with an eerie energy. As he began to carve, he felt a sensation of unease, as though he were being watched by unseen eyes. Tom's hands moved with a sense of urgency, his knife cutting into the pumpkin's flesh with precision. He carved a wicked grin, and when he placed a candle inside, the jack-o'-lantern flickered to life, its malevolent face casting eerie shadows. But as the first candle flame ignited, a sinister presence filled the air. The moonlight took on a ghastly hue, and the temperature dropped as the vengeful spirit of the patch began to manifest. It was a formless, shadowy entity, its malevolence palpable. Tom could feel the spirit's hatred and fury, and he knew he had made a grave mistake. He watched in horror as the jack-o'-lantern came to life, its eyes glowing with an unholy light. The spirit had been released, and it sought revenge for centuries of captivity. The pumpkin patch itself seemed to come alive, the cursed pumpkins transforming into grotesque, contorted faces. The vines writhed and reached out, forming a twisted, spectral army. The malevolent spirit led the charge, its wail echoing through the night. As the spirit descended upon the town, chaos erupted. The townsfolk, unaware of the curse that had been unleashed, were besieged by the supernatural forces. The possessed jack-o'-lanterns wreaked havoc, their glowing eyes and wicked grins striking terror into the hearts of those who had once come to Tom's patch with joy. Desperation gripped Tom as he realized the extent of his mistake. He had unwittingly unleashed a force of vengeance that he was powerless to control. The malevolent spirit sought retribution, and he was responsible for the chaos it had wrought. With the town in disarray, Tom knew he had to confront the vengeful spirit and put an end to its reign of terror. He ventured back to the cursed patch, where the spirit's power was at its strongest. The night was fraught with peril, and the moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an otherworldly light. As he faced the malevolent spirit, Tom could feel the weight of centuries of anger and betrayal. The spirit's formless presence seemed to envelop him, threatening to consume him. But Tom had a plan that required him to confront the spirit's thirst for revenge and to seek forgiveness. With a voice filled with determination, Tom spoke to the vengeful spirit, acknowledging the curse that had bound it to the land for so long. He expressed remorse for his ignorance and asked for the spirit's mercy. It was a desperate plea, and as he spoke, he could feel the malevolent force waver. The spirit, though filled with rage, had longed for release. It had yearned to be freed from the curse that had bound it. And Tom's words resonated with the spirit's desire for freedom. In a moment of surreal intensity, the malevolent spirit began to dissipate, its formless presence fading into the night. The jack-o'-lanterns lost their malevolent glow, and the vines that had writhed with supernatural energy returned to their dormant state. The town was left in disarray, but the terror had come to an end. Tom had confronted the consequences of tampering with the supernatural and had paid the price for his folly. He knew that the curse of the jack-o'-lantern was far from forgotten, but the malevolent spirit had been appeased, and the pumpkin patch was no longer a place of dread. As the first light of dawn broke over the rural town, the cursed patch remained silent and still. The townsfolk would never forget the Halloween night when malevolent spirits had been unleashed, but they had learned the price of revenge, and Tom had learned the value of forgiveness. The cursed pumpkins were once again forgotten, their secrets buried beneath the soil, a reminder of the allure of the unknown and the dangers of meddling with the supernatural. The haunting on Halloween Lake. In the heart of a tranquil forest, nestled beside the serene Halloween Lake, a cozy lakeside cabin awaited a group of friends eager to celebrate Halloween. The cabin, an isolated haven surrounded by the beauty of nature, was the perfect setting for their festive gathering. The friends, each brimming with excitement, arrived at the cabin on the eve of Halloween. The air was crisp, and the full moon cast an ethereal glow over the lake's still waters. Inside the cabin, they had adorned it with eerie decorations, and the warmth of the fireplace contrasted with the autumn chill outside. As the night descended upon them, the friends gathered by the lake, sharing tales of ghostly legends and supernatural encounters. Halloween Lake, they had heard, was known for its mysterious aura, a place where the boundary between the living and the spirit world grew thin on Halloween night. Unbeknownst to them, their festivities had disturbed the peace of the lake, awakening a vengeful water spirit that had long been bound to its depths. The spirit had been stirred from centuries of slumber, and it sought retribution for the intrusion of the friends upon its realm. As the group continued their celebration, the lake began to respond to their presence in eerie and unpredictable ways. Ripples danced across its surface without explanation, as if the very water held a hidden grudge. The friends laughed it off as mere quirks of nature, oblivious to the malevolent force lurking below. It was not until the early hours of Halloween, when the moon was at its zenith, that the water spirit's wrath became undeniable. An otherworldly chill filled the cabin, and the flickering fire struggled to ward off the unnatural cold. Shadows danced on the walls, casting eerie shapes that defied explanation. A friend, leaning too close to the lake's edge, suddenly found themselves dragged into the water by an unseen force. The others watched in horror as the water spirit, a formless entity with eyes that glowed like deep-sea creatures, rose from the lake, its fury evident in every ripple and wave. The water spirit spoke with a voice that was a haunting whisper on the breeze, a voice that seemed to come from the very depths of the lake. It demanded retribution for the disturbance of its watery domain, and it sought to claim the friends as penance. Desperation gripped the group as they scrambled to escape the lake's malevolent grip. The water spirit's watery tendrils reached out, dragging them into the depths with a relentless strength. The lake seemed bottomless, an abyss of darkness and despair. But as the friends fought for their lives, a realization dawned upon them. They were in the realm of an elemental spirit, a creature of water and vengeance. In the heart of Halloween Lake, the friends were powerless against the water spirit's wrath. As the water spirit's grasp tightened, the friends turned to the spirit's demand for retribution. They offered their apologies for the intrusion, for their disregard of the lake's ancient history and sacred nature. They pleaded for forgiveness, acknowledging the error of their ways and the consequences of their actions. The water spirit hesitated, its glowing eyes studying the sincerity of their pleas. It was a moment of tense anticipation, as the friends prayed for mercy from the elemental force that held their fates in its watery grasp. With a final, chilling wail, the water spirit released its hold on the friends and retreated into the depths of Halloween Lake. The lake, once again serene and still, seemed to accept their apologies and the recognition of its sacred nature. The friends, shaken and humbled by their encounter, emerged from the water, their Halloween celebration transformed into a harrowing brush with the supernatural. They knew they had been granted a second chance, a chance to respect and revere the elemental spirits that dwelled in the world around them. As Halloween night came to a close, the group made a solemn pact to protect the sanctity of the natural world and to honor the ancient spirits that resided within it. They left the lakeside cabin with a newfound understanding of the consequences of disrespecting nature and the wrath of elemental forces. Halloween Lake, once a place of haunting terror, had granted them a lesson in humility and respect. Its waters remained tranquil, and the moon continued to cast its gentle glow. The friends knew that their encounter with the water spirit would forever remind them of the power of the natural world and the need to preserve its mysteries, even on Halloween night. The Forest of the Lost Souls. It was a moonless Halloween night, the air heavy with the promise of the supernatural. Jane, an adventurous traveler, found herself deep within the heart of a dense and haunted forest. The towering trees, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, seemed to claw at the very fabric of reality. Jane's decision to explore the forest was born of her insatiable curiosity, a desire to experience the unknown. She had heard of the forest's haunted reputation, a place where the boundary between the living and the spirit world was thin on Halloween night. It was a temptation she could not resist. As she ventured deeper into the forest, her flashlight casting eerie shadows, a sense of disorientation overcame her. The dense undergrowth, suffocating in its thickness, seemed to shift and change, as if the forest itself conspired to lead her astray. Jane's heart pounded as she realized that she was hopelessly lost. Panic clawed at her mind, and her calls for help were met with an eerie silence. It was then that she first heard the whispers, the ghostly murmurs that seemed to come from all directions, their voices both alluring and unsettling. The forest, it appeared, was not as deserted as it had seemed. Jane was not alone, for the spirits of the forest had taken an interest in her. They appeared as shadowy figures, their forms insubstantial and ethereal. Their faces were obscured by darkness, and their presence radiated an otherworldly chill. The spirits guided Jane deeper into the forest, their whispers urging her to follow. She had no choice but to heed their direction. Her trepidation mingled with a strange fascination. The forest had ensnared her, and the spirits were the key to her escape. As she walked deeper into the labyrinthine depths of the forest, the night seemed to stretch on endlessly. Time itself had lost its meaning, and Jane's sense of reality wavered. The forest was a place of forgotten memories, a realm where desires and fears blended into an enigmatic tapestry. The spirits revealed fragments of their stories to Jane, tales of lost souls who had ventured into the forest, never to return. They spoke of desires unfulfilled, dreams abandoned, and regrets that had bound them to the spirit world. The forest, it seemed, was a place where one's deepest desires and fears held sway, and those who succumbed to its allure were forever trapped within its depths. As Jane listened to the stories, she realized that the forest was a place of entrapment, where one's desires could lead to eternal bondage. The spirits, as spectral guides, were both tempting and cautionary, their purpose to show Jane the consequences of her curiosity. The forest seemed to shift and transform as Jane journeyed deeper into its depths. The trees twisted and contorted, their branches forming eerie archways that beckoned her forward. The ground was soft and yielding, like an embrace that refused to let her go. Jane's journey through the forest became a nightmarish odyssey, where the boundary between reality and illusion blurred. The spirits, their intentions inscrutable, led her to a clearing where an ancient, gnarled tree stood at the center. Its branches hung low, heavy with the weight of centuries of secrets. It was there that the spirits revealed the forest's curse, a dark revelation that chilled Jane to her core. The forest had the power to fulfill one's deepest desires, but at a price. It demanded a sacrifice, a forfeiture of one's very essence, and those who yielded to its temptations were condemned to become lost souls, forever bound to its haunted realm. The spirits, with voices filled with sorrow, spoke of their own descent into the forest's curse. They had been travelers, much like Jane, who had sought to quench their curiosity and desires. But now they were trapped, their identities and memories fading into the collective consciousness of the forest. Jane, the forest's most recent visitor, was faced with a choice: to yield to her desires and become a lost soul, or to break free from the forest's grip. The spirits urged her to turn back, to escape the allure of the unknown and to return to the world of the living. It was a decision that would define her fate. And as she stared at the ancient tree, the forest's curse closing in around her, she knew that her choice would be a testament to her strength and resilience. With a surge of determination, Jane turned away from the forest's curse, her steps retracing the path that had led her into its depths. The spirits, their voices fading into the night, watched her with a mixture of longing and hope. As Jane emerged from the forest, the moonlight bathed her in a cleansing glow, and the dense, haunted woods seemed to recede into the distance. The allure of the unknown had been a powerful force, but Jane had resisted its pull, her curiosity tempered by wisdom. Halloween night had come to an end, and the forest of the lost souls retreated into the shadows. Jane knew that she had faced the dangers of her own desires and emerged from the darkness with her identity and memories intact. The forest, however, remained a place of mystery and enchantment, a realm where the allure of the unknown would continue to tempt travelers. Jane had learned the price of curiosity and the importance of resisting the forest's curse, and she knew that her encounter with the spirits would forever serve as a reminder of the dangers of getting lost in one's desires. The shadows in the attic in a grand Victorian-era mansion. Nestled on the outskirts of a quaint town, young Lily and her family prepared for Halloween night. The sprawling mansion, an heirloom passed down through generations, was a place of faded grandeur, its hidden secrets buried beneath layers of history. Lily, a curious and adventurous girl, had always been fascinated by the stories of her ancestors and the hidden corners of her ancestral home. On this Halloween night, as the moon cast an eerie glow upon the mansion, she set out on a quest of discovery. As she ventured through the mansion, Lily came upon a hidden door that led to a narrow, winding staircase. It was a staircase that seemed to disappear into darkness, its steps worn and fragile with age. The stairway ascended to an attic, a place that had remained untouched for generations, concealed by the passage of time. The attic was a realm of forgotten memories, filled with dusty trunks, moth-eaten clothing, and relics of a bygone era. The air was heavy with the scent of aged wood and faded perfume, and the atmosphere was suffocating, as though the very walls held untold secrets. As Lily explored the attic, she noticed an old, ornate mirror hidden beneath a dusty sheet. When she uncovered it, her reflection seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. The mirror held a malevolent presence, a dark energy that seemed to beckon her closer. In her curiosity, Lily stared into the mirror, her own reflection distorting and shifting into grotesque forms. She felt a presence reaching out from within the mirror, a force that sought to possess her, to draw her into the depths of the glass. Lily's family, sensing her distress, ventured into the attic to find her. As they reached the top of the narrow staircase, they were greeted by a scene of eerie, supernatural occurrences. Objects moved of their own accord, and shadows danced on the walls, their forms grotesque and menacing. The malevolent presence within the mirror, now fully awakened, extended its influence over Lily, drawing her further into the depths of the glass. Her family watched in horror as she seemed to fade, her form merging with the spectral entity within the mirror. Desperation gripped Lily's family as they realized that the malevolent presence had claimed her, and they were powerless to free her from its grip. The attic, a place of forgotten memories and dark secrets, had become a realm of haunting malevolence, where the boundaries between the living and the supernatural had blurred. In a desperate struggle to save Lily, her family turned to the mansion's old records and diaries, seeking to uncover the secrets of the malevolent presence within the attic. They learned of a dark history that had been concealed for generations, a history of love and betrayal, and the curse that had bound the malevolent presence to the mansion. The attic had been a place of forbidden love, where a family member had betrayed their beloved and, in doing so, had unleashed a malevolent spirit. The spirit had been bound to the mirror, and its vengeance had festered through the years, seeking to possess the living and claim their souls. As Lily's family delved deeper into the attic's history, they discovered a ritual, a means to exorcise the malevolent presence from the mirror. It was a perilous endeavor, a journey through the realms of the supernatural, where the boundaries of time and space seemed to crumble. With love as their guide, Lily's family embarked on the ritual, their hearts filled with the determination to free her from the mirror's malevolent grip. The mansion, now a place of haunting darkness, was transformed into a battleground between the living and the supernatural. As the ritual reached its climax, the malevolent presence within the mirror seemed to shriek in agony, its grip on Lily weakening. With a final surge of determination and love, her family shattered the mirror, breaking the malevolent spirit's hold on her. the mirror's shards scattered, and the malevolent presence faded into the depths of the supernatural. Lily, now free from its grasp, returned to her family's embrace, her memories of the ordeal hazy and surreal. Halloween night had come to a close, and the mansion stood silent, its secrets and shadows vanquished. Lily's family had uncovered the dark history that had bound the malevolent presence, and they had learned the power of love and determination in the face of the supernatural. The attic, once a place of forgotten memories, would forever serve as a reminder of the secrets hidden within a family's history and the resilience of love. The mansion's faded grandeur now held a new light, a beacon of hope in the face of the shadows in the attic, and a testament to the power of love and family bonds. The curse of the masked ball in the heart of a grand 19th-century ballroom, adorned with chandeliers that cast a radiant glow and opulent tapestries that seemed to whisper tales of bygone eras. Sophia, a young debutante, stood in anticipation. The Halloween masquerade was a night of enchantment and allure, where masks concealed identities, and the boundary between the living and the supernatural blurred. The guests at the ball moved gracefully, their elaborate costumes and masks concealing their true selves. Sophia, a vision of beauty in her lace gown and ornate mask, was drawn into the allure of the masked ball, its opulence and mystery beckoning her to dance with the unknown. As the night unfolded, Sophia was introduced to a masked stranger, a gentleman whose charm and grace matched her own. Their waltz was ethereal, a dance that seemed to transcend the boundaries of time and space. The music, haunting and seductive, filled the ballroom as they twirled in perfect harmony. But as the masked guests around them joined the dance, a shadowy presence descended upon the ballroom. The music took on a mournful, discordant tone, and the guests' laughter grew hollow and eerie. Sophia's masked partner, a spectral figure, revealed himself to be one of the cursed guests. The cursed dance had begun, a nightmarish cycle that ensnared Sophia in its grip. The ballroom seemed to stretch into infinity, its walls closing in, and the masked guests, their faces twisted into grotesque expressions, danced with a malevolent energy. The spectral guests whispered to Sophia, their voices filled with longing and sorrow. They revealed the curse that bound them to the ball, a curse born of vanity and a thirst for eternal youth. Each guest had been drawn into the cursed dance, their identities fading, and their souls consumed by the ball's malevolent energy. Sophia, trapped in the nightmarish waltz, realized the true nature of the masked guests. They were souls who had paid the price of vanity, their obsession with beauty and youth leading them into a cursed existence. Now, they were condemned to dance for all eternity, their souls trapped in a never-ending masquerade. As the cursed dance continued, Sophia struggled to break free, her mask and gown weighing her down like chains. The cursed guests circled around her, their spectral hands reaching out, their faces twisted in anguish. It was a dance of despair, a grotesque parody of the opulent ball that had drawn Sophia into its grip. Desperation gripped Sophia as she realized that the only way to break the curse was to confront the masked guests and uncover the truth of their vanity and obsession. With each revelation, the spectral figures seemed to waver, their hold on her weakening. Sophia, her determination unwavering, ventured deeper into the cursed dance, unmasking the guests' darkest secrets. She learned of the price they had paid for eternal youth, the sacrifices they had made, and the consequences of their obsession. As she confronted the cursed guests, their spectral forms grew more tormented, their voices filled with sorrow and remorse. It was a battle of wills, a struggle to free herself from the nightmarish cycle and to release the masked guests from their cursed existence. The opulent ballroom, once a place of allure and enchantment, now stood as a battleground between the living and the supernatural. The cursed dance reached its climax as Sophia uncovered the final secret, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the spectral figures. With a surge of determination and the power of her own will, Sophia shattered the cursed dance, breaking the spectral figure's hold on her. The ballroom, once shrouded in darkness, was bathed in a radiant light, and the masked guests, their twisted masks fading, were released from their cursed existence. Halloween night had come to an end, and the grand ballroom stood silent, its echoes of the cursed dance fading into the past. Sophia had confronted the price of vanity and the consequences of one's actions, and she had broken the curse that had ensnared her in the nightmarish cycle. The grand 19th-century ballroom, once a place of opulence and allure, now stood as a testament to the power of self-discovery and the strength of the human spirit. Sophia's mask, now cast aside, revealed the true beauty that lay within, and the masked ball, with its cursed guests, had become a distant memory of a night when the boundaries between the living and the supernatural had blurred. Story 1: The Haunted House on Elm Street. On a cold, moonless Halloween night, an air of anticipation filled the small town of Willowville. Giggles and laughter drifted through the streets as children roamed in search of sugary treasures. But for one teenager named Sarah, this Halloween was different, marked by a dare that would lead her to the most dreaded place in the town, the haunted house on Elm Street. Sarah, a curious and adventurous girl of 15, had heard the terrifying stories whispered in hushed tones about the infamous house that stood at the end of Elm Street. It had been empty for decades, its windows shattered, its roof sagging, and its garden overgrown with twisted, thorny vines. The story said it was cursed, that it held the spirits of the departed who refused to move on. This Halloween, Sarah's friends dared her to enter the decrepit mansion, a test of courage that only the bravest dared to take. In the flickering light of her flashlight, she stood before the imposing double doors, her heart pounding with fear and excitement. She knew she couldn't turn back. Her reputation was on the line. With a trembling hand, she pushed the creaking door open and stepped inside. The air was heavy with the scent of decay and dampness. Moonlight streamed through broken windows, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. Each step echoed with a haunting resonance as she ventured deeper into the abyss. Sarah's unease grew, but a sudden voice shattered the silence. "Welcome, brave soul," a raspy voice said from the darkness. Sarah's flashlight revealed an elderly man with a long, silver beard and piercing blue eyes. He was Mr. Johnson, the enigmatic owner of the haunted house. "Who are you?" Sarah stammered, her voice quivering. Mr. Johnson's thin lips curled into a smile, but it was a smile devoid of warmth. "I am the caretaker of this abode. And you, dear Sarah, have ventured into a world you were never meant to see." With trembling hands, Sarah pointed her flashlight at Mr. Johnson's face, and for a moment, she caught a glimpse of something otherworldly in his eyes, as though they held the weight of centuries. The old man extended a bony hand. "Come, allow me to show you the secrets of this place." Despite her trepidation, Sarah hesitantly took his hand, and he led her deeper into the house. The atmosphere grew more unsettling with every step. They passed by dimly lit rooms filled with dusty, cobweb-covered furniture, each room an eerie tableau of forgotten lives. Mr. Johnson spoke of dark stories and the unquiet spirits that roamed the halls. As they descended into the basement, the temperature dropped, and the air became thick with malevolence. It was there that Sarah saw her first apparition, a shadowy figure of a woman weeping softly in the corner. Her hair hung in disheveled strands, and her dress was torn and tattered. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she felt an overwhelming sadness that emanated from the ghostly figure. Mr. Johnson whispered, "This is Isabella, a lost soul who could not escape her own past. Her despair is forever etched into these walls." The further they ventured, the more restless spirits they encountered, each one bearing their own tales of sorrow, betrayal, and agony. Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of their presence, their stories becoming etched into her memory. But the most chilling encounter awaited her in the attic. As they climbed the creaking stairs, a ghastly figure with hollow eyes and a twisted smile appeared. It was the vengeful spirit of a man who had met a gruesome end. He let out an eerie, echoing laugh that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "Meet William, the house's dark secret," Mr. Johnson said. "He met a gruesome end here, and his rage lingers on." The sinister laughter echoed in the attic as the malevolent spirit came closer, his icy breath brushing against Sarah's neck. She had seen enough. Panic overtook her, and she fled from the attic, down the stairs, and out into the night. The moment she stepped out of the house, the world outside felt starkly different. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows that seemed to stretch out toward her. Sarah's friends waited for her, eager to hear what she had discovered within. But what she had seen and experienced was more than she could ever convey in words. She had looked into the eyes of the tormented, heard the cries of the restless, and felt the presence of the long departed. The weight of their stories and the dark history of the haunted house on Elm Street had become a part of her. As the years passed, Sarah never spoke of her night in the haunted house. The memories were too chilling, too profound to be shared. But the darkness and secrets she had encountered would forever haunt her, reminding her of the consequences of curiosity and the heavy burden of past sins. The haunted house on Elm Street remained, standing as a silent witness to the torment and suffering that could never truly be laid to rest. Story 2: The Pumpkin Patch. The chill of late October hung in the air as a nearly full moon cast an eerie glow over the small, rural town of Hollowbrook. Shadows stretched long across the quiet streets, and a whisper of dread swept through the townsfolk. Halloween night was approaching, and with it, the gruesome history of the sinister pumpkin patch that haunted the outskirts of town. Among the locals, the tale of the cursed pumpkin patch was a legend passed down through generations. They spoke of Old Man Jenkins, the reclusive keeper of the cursed patch, who had been rumored to have made a pact with something dark and unholy. The stories were filled with sinister warnings and tales of those who had dared to trespass on the cursed grounds, never to return. In the midst of this eerie atmosphere, a skeptical journalist named Alex arrived in Hollowbrook. He had been assigned to investigate the strange series of Halloween-related disappearances that had plagued the town for years. Alex, driven by a relentless curiosity and the determination to uncover the truth, set out to uncover the mystery. His journey led him to the outskirts of Hollowbrook, where he encountered the ominous pumpkin patch. The pumpkins, grotesquely deformed with wicked grins, seemed to leer at him as he approached. The moonlight filtered through their twisted vines, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Despite his skepticism, a shiver ran down his spine, and he couldn't help but feel an inexplicable sense of foreboding. As Alex explored the cursed patch, he noticed something peculiar. The vines seemed to stretch beyond the pumpkin patch, leading him to a hidden entrance in the ground. It was a small, unassuming cave entrance, concealed by overgrown thorns and shrubs. His investigative instincts kicked in, and he ventured inside. The cave was damp and dark, the air thick with an earthy scent. With his flashlight in hand, Alex descended deeper into the subterranean labyrinth. He soon realized that this cave held secrets that were even darker than the stories he had heard about the pumpkin patch. The cave was adorned with eerie symbols etched into the stone walls. Strange artifacts lay scattered around, and an aura of malevolence hung in the air. As Alex pressed on, his flashlight revealed a chamber at the heart of the cave, where an ancient altar stood. It was adorned with eerie relics and lit by the unearthly glow of carved pumpkins. As he approached the altar, the ground began to tremble, and the cave seemed to come alive. Shadows danced on the walls, and the sinister symbols pulsed with an unnatural energy. In the midst of the chaos, Alex realized that he was not alone. Old Man Jenkins, a wizened figure with wild eyes and a sinister grin, appeared before him. "Curiosity has led you here, young journalist," Old Man Jenkins hissed. "But do you truly understand the darkness that dwells in this place?" Alex, struggling to maintain his composure, demanded answers. "What is the meaning of these symbols? What have you done here?" Old Man Jenkins cackled, his laughter echoing through the cave. "This place, young one, is a gateway to the world of the unknown. The cursed pumpkins hold the souls of those who dared to seek power and wealth. Their greed led them to make pacts with the supernatural, and they became prisoners of their own desires." As Old Man Jenkins spoke, the pumpkins on the altar began to glow with an eerie, ethereal light. Alex realized that the pumpkins held the souls of the lost, bound to this cursed place. The sinister secrets of the pumpkin patch were unveiled, and the fear of the unknown gripped him. The ground continued to shake as Old Man Jenkins summoned the cursed souls. From the depths of the cave, they emerged, their spectral forms twisting and contorting. Their eyes were hollow voids, and their wails filled the chamber. The cursed souls were trapped, their hunger for release palpable. Alex, filled with terror, knew he had to escape. He retraced his steps through the treacherous cave, pursued by the agonized cries of the tormented souls. As he reached the surface, the cave's entrance collapsed, sealing the malevolent spirits within. Outside, the moon hung heavy in the sky, casting an ominous glow on the cursed pumpkin patch. The sinister pumpkins seemed to leer even more wickedly, their grins eternally carved into their twisted faces. As the night of Halloween descended upon Hollowbrook, Alex understood the true price of greed and the fear of the unknown. He had ventured into the cursed pumpkin patch and encountered the malevolent spirits of those who had been consumed by their desires. Their haunting wails would forever echo in his memory. In the years that followed, Alex's encounter with the pumpkin patch haunted him. He had uncovered a sinister truth about the price of greed and the depths of darkness that could lurk in the most unsuspecting places. The cursed pumpkin patch, with its sinister secrets, served as a chilling reminder of the consequences of curiosity and the fear of the unknown. Hollowbrook would forever bear the weight of its dark history, and the sinister pumpkins would continue to cast a long shadow over the town on each Halloween night. Story 3: The Midnight Masquerade. In the heart of the city, where the lights cast a vibrant glow on bustling streets, Emily, a timid and introverted artist, found herself in the midst of an opulent Halloween masquerade. She had been reluctant to attend, but her friend's insistence had led her to don a mask and join the revelry. The ballroom was a sumptuous display of extravagance. Lustrous chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, casting a cascade of golden light upon the guests, who adorned themselves in ornate masks and intricate costumes. The air was heavy with a sense of mystery and decadence, and the seductive allure of the unknown lingered in every corner. Emily stood at the entrance, her heart racing as she observed the masqueraders. The thrill of anonymity allowed her to shed her usual shyness, and she blended in seamlessly with the crowd. She marveled at the masks that concealed the identities of those around her, their eyes revealing nothing of their true selves. As the night wore on, Emily found herself drawn to a masked figure who stood apart from the others. The masquerader, as she would come to call him, wore a mask adorned with delicate silver filigree, and his black cloak billowed around him like a shadow. His presence was enigmatic, and his allure was undeniable. Their eyes met from across the room, and an unspoken connection was forged. The masquerader extended a gloved hand, and Emily, her curiosity piqued, couldn't resist the temptation to follow him through the elaborate maze of the masquerade. The path they took led them deeper into the mansion, and the sounds of the lavish ball began to fade into the distance. The seductive allure of the masquerader's presence was inescapable, drawing Emily further into the shadows of the mansion. They came upon a concealed corridor, its walls adorned with strange, esoteric symbols. As they walked, the air grew heavy with an intoxicating aroma, and the allure of the unknown became almost overwhelming. Emily's heart pounded with both excitement and trepidation. The corridor led to a hidden chamber, illuminated by candles and filled with a congregation of masqueraders, their faces hidden behind masks of elegance and artistry. In the center of the chamber stood an altar adorned with mystical symbols, its presence ominous and foreboding. The masquerader, with Emily in tow, joined the congregation as the ritual began. A haunting chant filled the chamber, and the flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the masked faces of the attendees. The atmosphere was charged with an otherworldly energy that sent shivers down Emily's spine. As the ritual unfolded, Emily's initial intrigue began to give way to an unsettling realization. The congregation, consumed by their desire for the seductive allure of the unknown, had become entangled in a sinister cult. Their devotion to the masquerader was unwavering, their eyes filled with an unnatural fervor. She watched as the masquerader, with an air of malevolence, took center stage. He held a silver chalice filled with a dark, viscous liquid, and he offered it to the cult members, each of whom drank deeply from the sinister goblet, their faces contorted with ecstasy, their masks concealing their descent into darkness. Emily, filled with terror and regret, attempted to retreat, but the masquerader's grip on her arm was unyielding. His masked face leaned close to hers, and the seductive allure that had drawn her in now became a perilous trap. "Welcome to the fold," he whispered, his voice a haunting caress. "Tonight, you shall join us in our pursuit of the unknown." As the ritual reached its crescendo, Emily found herself ensnared in a sinister dance, her body moving in perfect harmony with the cult members. The allure of the unknown had lured her into a world of darkness, where the danger of surrendering to temptation had become all too real. The masked congregation reveled in their hedonistic ecstasy, and the room seemed to pulse with an unholy energy. Emily's identity was stripped away as she became one with the cult, her fate sealed by her own curiosity and desire for the seductive unknown. The night waned, and the masquerade continued its dark rites. Emily had become a mere reflection of her former self, lost in the labyrinth of the masquerade, forever entangled in the enigmatic and seductive world she had unwittingly entered. The morning sun finally broke through, casting its cleansing light upon the world. The mansion, once shrouded in opulence, had become a silent tomb, concealing the sinister cult and their eerie ritual. Emily's true identity was forever obscured, hidden behind the mask of her new existence. The tale of the midnight masquerade became a legend, whispered in the shadows of the city, a cautionary tale of the seductive allure of the unknown and the perilous dangers of surrendering to temptation. Emily's name was lost to history, her identity forever concealed by the mask she wore, a haunting reminder of the consequences of being drawn into the enigmatic world of the masquerade. Story 4: The Cursed Carnival. In the heart of a small, sleepy town, the arrival of Halloween brought with it a chilling excitement. The sky was a dusky canvas, and the moon cast an eerie glow over the landscape. Jake, a thrill-seeking teenager, and his group of friends decided to venture into the mysterious Halloween carnival that had suddenly appeared on the outskirts of town. As they approached the carnival, the aroma of popcorn and cotton candy filled the air, and the sounds of joyful laughter and the whirl of carnival rides filled their ears. The entrance was adorned with tattered banners, and a towering, creaking Ferris wheel beckoned to them like a haunted sentinel. Jake and his friends, drawn by the allure of danger, decided to enter the carnival. The sense of trepidation only added to their excitement as they navigated through the brightly lit tents and the labyrinthine maze of funhouse horrors. However, they soon noticed something unusual. An enigmatic fortune teller named Madame Zara, with piercing eyes that seemed to see beyond the present, beckoned them to her dimly lit tent. Her voice carried an eerie mystique as she revealed the dark history of the carnival. "Stay away," she whispered with a cryptic warning. "This place is cursed, and its attractions are far more sinister than they appear." But the allure of danger and the thrill of the unknown were too strong to resist. Jake and his friends brushed aside Madame Zara's warning and ventured deeper into the carnival. They decided to ride the cursed Ferris wheel, its rusted framework groaning as they ascended into the night sky. From their seats, they gazed upon the carnival's unsettling attractions, each one more bizarre and malevolent than the last. The roller coaster, with tracks that twisted and coiled like serpents, roared through the air, its riders screaming in terror. As they reached the highest point of the Ferris wheel, the moonlight revealed a shocking sight. The carnival grounds were not filled with living revelers, but with phantoms and malevolent spirits. The carnival's ghoulish inhabitants danced and frolicked, their hollow eyes filled with an insatiable hunger. The friends' exhilaration turned to terror as the Ferris wheel descended. They realized the sinister truth. They were now trapped in a carnival of the dead, where the attractions were controlled by malevolent spirits, and the boundaries between the living and the deceased had blurred. Their only hope was to confront the carnival's sinister ringmaster, a shadowy figure named Mr. Morpheus. As they descended from the Ferris wheel, they navigated the dark carnival with trepidation. The funhouse horrors that had once excited them now filled them with dread. The friends' journey led them to the center of the carnival, where they discovered Mr. Morpheus's tent. The entrance was adorned with a red velvet curtain, and the air was heavy with an oppressive malevolence. With bated breath, they entered the tent, and there he stood. Mr. Morpheus, a gaunt figure with a sinister smile, welcomed them with a nod. "You've come to the heart of our carnival, where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and where the allure of danger draws you ever closer to the edge." Their confrontation with Mr. Morpheus was inevitable. The ringmaster explained the carnival's dark history and how it had been cursed by a vengeful spirit, forever trapping the souls of those who dared to enter its grounds. He offered Jake and his friends a choice: to join the carnival as its newest performers or to become permanent residents of the cursed grounds. The allure of danger had led them to this fateful moment. As they stood at the precipice of an irreversible decision, they realized the consequences of ignoring warnings and the seductive allure of thrill-seeking. The carnival's malevolent attractions had ensnared them in a world where danger was ever present, and escape seemed impossible. In a final act of defiance, Jake and his friends chose to face the malevolent spirits head-on. They confronted Mr. Morpheus and the carnival's sinister inhabitants in a showdown that would determine their fate. A whirlwind of chaos ensued as the carnival's attractions sprang to life. The roller coaster snaked through the air, and the Ferris wheel spun madly. Jake and his friends, driven by desperation and courage, fought against the malevolent spirits that sought to claim their souls. Amid the chaos, they discovered that the carnival's curse could be broken with an act of selflessness and sacrifice. Together, they worked to free the trapped spirits and to confront the vengeful spirit that had cursed the carnival. With a final, harrowing confrontation, they managed to appease the vengeful spirit, breaking the carnival's curse and releasing the souls of the trapped inhabitants. The carnival, once sinister and malevolent, began to crumble and fade, its malevolent allure dissipating into the night. As the first rays of dawn broke through the darkness, Jake and his friends emerged from the cursed carnival. The grounds lay in ruins, and the malevolent spirits were gone, their hunger for the living quelled. They had escaped the allure of danger and the consequences of ignoring warnings, but the experience left them forever changed. The thrill-seeking adventure had led them to confront the seductive allure of the unknown and the perilous allure of the supernatural. The carnival's cursed history and the courage of Jake and his friends served as a haunting reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows and the importance of heeding warnings. As they returned to the waking world, the memories of the cursed carnival would forever remain etched in their minds, a testament to the chilling excitement and perilous thrill-seeking that had drawn them to the edge of darkness. Story 5: The Wandering Ghostly Parade. In a quaint town nestled between rolling hills, where the amber leaves of autumn whispered of approaching winter, lived a young girl named Lily. She was unlike the other children in the town, for Lily possessed a rare gift. She could see and communicate with ghosts. Halloween night had come to the town, and as the moon hung low in the sky, the air was filled with an eerie, anticipatory silence. It was a night when the veil between the living and the dead grew thin, and the spirits, lost to time, walked the earth once more. Lily, with her raven-black hair and eyes that held the ancient wisdom of her gift, was drawn to the supernatural energy that surrounded Halloween. As the town's festivities began, she found herself wandering away from the warm glow of her home. She soon came upon a spectral procession of ghosts, an ethereal parade, whose feet barely touched the ground. The apparitions were draped in tattered, time-worn garments, their faces gentle and sad. The ghostly parade moved in somber harmony through the darkened streets. With a mixture of fear and fascination, Lily joined the procession, feeling as though she had been chosen to bear witness to the ghostly spectacle. The spirits, sensing her unique connection to the other side, welcomed her into their quiet world. As they moved through the town, Lily communicated with the spirits. She heard their stories, their regrets, and their unfulfilled desires. Many had lived in the town centuries ago, their presence lost to time. They yearned for the living to remember their stories and release them from their spectral existence. Among the spirits, Lily came upon a spectral couple, a young man and woman, their hands intertwined as they danced through the night. Their love story had been tragically cut short by a feud between their families, and their spirits were bound to the town, unable to find peace. Lily's heart ached as she learned about their unfulfilled love and their longing to be reunited in death. She knew that she held the key to helping them find the closure they sought. As the night deepened and the spectral parade continued its melancholic journey, Lily's determination grew. She realized that the beauty of the supernatural world was entwined with the weight of unfinished business, and she was compelled to help the spirits find their peace. With the guidance of the spectral couple, Lily learned of a hidden chamber beneath the town's ancient church. It was said that within this chamber lay a forgotten artifact that could break the curse binding the spirits to the town. Lily, undeterred by the eerie aura of the chamber, ventured beneath the church. In the dim light, she discovered a small, ornate box, adorned with intricate carvings and glowing with an otherworldly radiance. As she opened the box, a gentle wind swept through the chamber, and the spectral couple appeared before her. The lovers looked into each other's eyes, tears of joy streaming down their ethereal cheeks. With a final, heartfelt farewell, they dissolved into the air, their spirits released from the town's curse. The ghostly parade, now incomplete, moved on to the next realm, their faces filled with gratitude for the girl who had set them free. Lily, as the dawn's light broke through the darkness, emerged from the chamber beneath the church. The town's Halloween festivities had ended, and the world was now quiet and still. She had unraveled the centuries-old curse, and the beauty in the supernatural world had been revealed to her. The weight of unfinished business had been lifted from the spirits who had once haunted the town, and their stories had been heard. Lily returned to her home, her heart filled with a profound sense of wonder and melancholy. She knew that Halloween night was a time when the living and the dead could briefly intertwine, and she felt privileged to have witnessed the spectral parade. The tale of Lily and the ghostly parade became a legend in the town, a testament to the beauty that could be found in the supernatural and the importance of helping those who lingered in the realm of the unseen. Halloween night, once a time of fear and darkness, became a night when the living and the dead could find solace in each other's company, and the stories of the spectral parade were passed down through the generations, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that could be found in the most unexpected places. Story 6: The Unearthly Trick-or-Treaters. Halloween night had fallen upon the peaceful neighborhood, painting it in a warm tapestry of oranges, reds, and the soft glow of jack-o'-lanterns. Jack, a kind-hearted man with a deep love for the spirit of Halloween, prepared his home to welcome the eager trick-or-treaters who would soon come knocking on his door. With a smile, he placed bowls of candy by the front door, ready to share the sweet treasures of the night with the young children who roamed the streets in costume. But Jack's night would soon take a chilling turn that would test his heart and resolve. As the moon hung low in the Inkai sky, the first group of trick-or-treaters arrived at Jack's door. He greeted them with a warm, happy Halloween. and watched as their eyes filled with delight upon receiving candy from his generous hand. But the second group of children who appeared were different, otherworldly in a way that made Jack's heart skip a beat. The unearthly trick-or-treaters, as he would come to know them, were ghostly children with hollow eyes and ashen skin. They wore tattered, time-worn costumes, and their laughter carried an eerie, echoing quality. When Jack offered them candy, their hands passed right through the treats as if they were made of smoke. Confusion and unease filled him as he realized that these were no ordinary trick-or-treaters. There was something otherworldly about them, and he feared that his night of Halloween joy had taken an unsettling turn. With their spectral presence, they seemed to carry a dark secret. The unearthly trick-or-treaters invited Jack to a chilling game of hide-and-seek. Their ghostly voices whispered in his ear, beckoning him to join in their spectral fun. Jack hesitated, but, unable to resist the eerie pull, agreed to play the game. The rules were simple. Jack would be the seeker, and the unearthly trick-or-treaters would hide. Their laughter echoed through the night as they vanished into the darkness of the neighborhood. With a flashlight in hand, Jack began to seek out the spectral children, his heart racing with a mixture of fear and curiosity. As he ventured into the chilling night, the streets grew quieter, and the moon cast long shadows that danced across the pavement. Jack's flashlight revealed the ghostly children hiding in the shadows. But as he reached out to touch them, they faded away like mist. The game continued, and the spectral children led Jack on a maddening chase, their ethereal laughter filling his ears. It was as if they were leading him further into a web of darkness, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. With a sinking feeling, Jack realized that he had fallen into the clutches of the unearthly trick-or-treaters, and he began to understand the horrifying truth. These were the lost souls of children who had met tragic fates on Halloween nights long past, unable to find peace and forever bound to this world. The spectral children, now revealing their true nature, spoke to him in mournful voices. They recounted their tales of woe and darkness, the accidents and misfortunes that had befallen them on Halloween nights. They spoke of the pain of being forgotten, of their desperate desire to be remembered and to find a way to cross over to the afterlife. With mounting fear and sympathy, Jack understood that the unearthly trick-or-treaters sought more than just a simple game. They were in search of the one thing that could set them free, the memory of their existence, a remembrance by the living. As he ventured further into the web of darkness, Jack discovered a hidden gravestone in a forgotten corner of the neighborhood. It bore the names of the lost children and their tragic stories, long erased from the living's memory. With a heavy heart, he realized that the key to their salvation lay in acknowledging their existence and their fates. With a deep breath, Jack spoke the names of the unearthly trick-or-treaters and recounted their tales, vowing to remember them and to honor their presence on Halloween night. The spectral children, their ghostly faces filled with gratitude, began to fade away, their laughter turning into whispers of gratitude. With the unearthly trick-or-treaters gone, Jack returned to his home, his heart heavy with the weight of the experience. The night had tested his courage and his belief in the spirit of Halloween. But it had also reminded him of the importance of tradition and the significance of remembering those who had been lost to the passage of time. Halloween night would forever hold a special place in Jack's heart, a night when the living and the spectral could come together to honor the traditions of the past. The unearthly trick-or-treater's story would be passed down through the generations, a haunting reminder of the consequences of refusing kindness and the importance of remembering those who had been forgotten. As the moon hung low in the sky. Story 7. The haunted costume shop on the darkest, chilliest Halloween night. When the moon was veiled by thick clouds, Amy, an aspiring actress with dreams of the big stage, found herself wandering the quiet streets of the town. Her curiosity led her to an old costume shop that appeared out of nowhere, its door creaking open as if beckoning her inside. The haunted costume shop, as its faded sign declared, was a place of wonder and mystery, known only to those who dared venture into its shadowy depths. The enigmatic owner, Mr. Holloway, greeted Amy with a sinister smile, his eyes gleaming with a hidden malevolence. With an eerie charm, Mr. Holloway guided Amy through the dimly lit aisles, each one lined with rows of costumes from eras long forgotten. The air was heavy with the musty scent of age and secrets, and the walls seemed to press closer, creating a suffocating sense of claustrophobia. Amy's eyes darted from costume to costume, each one more unusual and captivating than the last. As she touched the fabric of a vintage dress, she was consumed by an irresistible urge to try it on. Mr. Holloway, with a sly smile, led her to a changing room tucked away in a remote corner of the shop. In the cramped changing room, Amy donned the vintage dress and felt an immediate transformation. The room around her faded away, replaced by a stage and an adoring audience. She was no longer herself but a glamorous actress in the spotlight, captivating the hearts of all who watched. As she basked in her newfound identity, the cheers of the audience and the brilliance of the stage were intoxicating. But when she tried to remove the dress, it clung to her body like a second skin, refusing to let go. Panic set in as Amy realized that she was trapped in the persona of the actress, her own identity slipping away. Desperation led her to tear at the dress, and with a jolt, she was free. Gasping for breath and drenched in sweat, she stood in the dimly lit changing room, her heart pounding. The vintage dress lay crumpled on the floor, its allure gone. Amy, shaken but determined to leave the shop, pushed open the changing room door. To her astonishment, she was met with a new costume hanging before her, a cloak adorned with the symbols of a sorcerer. The cloak's intricate design beckoned to her, and with a sense of dread, she found herself draping it over her shoulders. Once more, Amy's surroundings transformed, and she became a powerful sorcerer wielding magic beyond imagination. The walls of the costume shop melted away, replaced by a realm of mystical spells and enchantments. Her hands moved effortlessly through the air, conjuring illusions and casting spells. But as the minutes passed, the enchantment of the sorcerer's cloak began to take hold. Amy's identity dissolved, and her own powers became a curse. She was no longer herself, but a puppet of magic, her every action dictated by forces beyond her control. Frantic, she tore the sorcerer's cloak from her body, her own identity returning with a rush of relief. The shop was back before her, its eerie presence a stark reminder of the danger that lurked in the cursed costumes. With trembling hands, she confronted Mr. Holloway, her voice trembling as she demanded an explanation. He revealed the truth of the shop. Its costumes were imbued with the spirits of those who had worn them in the past, and anyone who tried them on risked losing their identity and becoming the characters they portrayed. As Amy turned to leave, she realized that the exit was blocked, the door sealed shut. The haunted costume shop was no ordinary store, and Mr. Holloway was no ordinary shopkeeper. He offered her a sinister ultimatum: try on one final costume, or remain trapped in the shop forever. With dread in her heart, Amy selected a mask, a delicate porcelain face with a serene smile. She placed it upon her own, and in an instant, she was transformed into a masked dancer at a lavish ball. The music played, and she twirled and pirouetted with grace, her every movement dictated by the mask. The mask clung to her face, her own identity fading into obscurity. She was trapped in the persona of the masked dancer, her very essence slipping away like a wisp of smoke. As Amy spun in the ghostly ballroom, her spirit weakening, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Holloway, who had donned the sorcerer's cloak she had discarded. He was the master of this cursed place, a malevolent figure who reveled in the transformations his costumes brought. In a final, desperate act, Amy used what remained of her willpower to tear the mask from her face. It shattered on the floor, and with a gasp, she was freed. The enchantments of the haunted costume shop were dispelled, and the shopkeeper's sinister control waned. Amy stumbled toward the door, her strength failing, and with one final effort, she pushed it open. The moonlight bathed her in its silver glow, and she stood outside the haunted costume shop, her heart still racing from the horrors she had witnessed. The cursed shop lay behind her, and she knew that she had narrowly escaped the grasp of Mr. Holloway and his malevolent costumes. She would carry the memories of the shop's eerie transformation and the danger of losing one's identity with her for the rest of her days. The haunted costume shop became a chilling legend, whispered among those who dared to seek the allure of its enigmatic costumes. Amy's story served as a haunting reminder of the masks we wear and the dangers that lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to consume those who venture too far into the realm of the supernatural. Story 8. The Witch's Curse. In the heart of Ravenswood, a small town steeped in history and secrets, Ava, a young woman with a deep fascination for the past, found herself drawn to the town's darkest chapter, the notorious witch trial that had taken place centuries ago. As Halloween night loomed, she embarked on a journey to uncover the truth behind the witch's curse. The Witch of Ravenswood, as she was known, had been accused of dark magic and witchcraft during a time when paranoia and superstition had gripped the town. The trial had ended in tragedy, with the accused witch being condemned and executed, her name forever tarnished by false accusations. Ava's curiosity led her to the town's archives, where dusty records and faded manuscripts contained the chilling details of the witch trial. As she delved deeper into the past, she couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding, as though the dark history of Ravenswood was still very much alive. Halloween night descended upon the town, and Ava's research had led her to an old, decrepit cottage on the outskirts of Ravenswood. It was here, according to the archives, that the witch had lived and where she had supposedly left behind a cursed legacy. The cottage was in a state of disrepair, its roof sagging and its walls adorned with creeping ivy. Ava ventured inside, the creaking floorboards beneath her feet echoing with the weight of history. Her breath hung in the chilly air as she explored the dimly lit interior. As she moved deeper into the cottage, she discovered a hidden chamber, its entrance concealed by a dusty tapestry. Inside, the room was adorned with symbols and relics of the occult, the remnants of the witch's dark practices. An old book lay open on a wooden pedestal, its pages filled with incantations and curses. Drawn by a sense of curiosity and an innate desire to uncover the truth, Ava began to read the incantations aloud. With each word, a shiver ran down her spine, and the room seemed to come to life with an otherworldly energy. In the darkness, a ghostly figure materialized, a vengeful spirit with hollow eyes and a face twisted by anger. It was the Witch of Ravenswood, awakened from her slumber and thirsting for retribution. Ava's heart raced as the spirit approached, her voice trembling as she explained her quest to uncover the truth of the witch trial and to bring justice to the accused. But the vengeful spirit was consumed by anger and a desire for revenge, her trust shattered by the memory of her unjust execution. With an ethereal gesture, the spirit summoned a chilling gust of wind that swept through the cottage, extinguishing the candles that had flickered with an eerie glow. Darkness closed in around Ava, and the vengeful spirit's laughter echoed through the room. Ava was trapped in the presence of a spirit consumed by a centuries-old injustice. She knew that she had unwittingly unleashed a power that could consume her, and that she had little time to break the curse and appease the vengeful spirit. Desperation led her to return to her research, this time seeking a way to unravel the dark history of the witch trial and to reveal the truth that had remained hidden for so long. The archives yielded a letter, a confession from one of the accusers, who had later recanted her testimony, admitting that she had been manipulated by those with their own motives. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Ava returned to the cottage, her heart heavy with determination. The vengeful spirit awaited her, her hollow eyes filled with suspicion. Ava shared the letter with the spirit, explaining that the witch had been wronged by those who had sought to manipulate and deceive the town for their own gain. The vengeful spirit's anger began to wane as the truth of the past was laid bare. With a solemn nod, the spirit revealed her name, which had been long forgotten, and her true history. She had been a healer and a protector of the town, wrongly accused and condemned by those who had feared her power. With this revelation, the vengeful spirit's form began to dissipate, her anger finally appeased. The dark curse that had bound her to the cottage and sought to exact revenge was broken, and the truth had been brought to light. As Halloween night drew to a close, Ava stood outside the cottage, her heart heavy with the weight of history and the power of redemption. The town's darkest chapter had been unveiled, and the Witch of Ravenswood could finally find peace. The tale of the witch trial and Ava's encounter with the vengeful spirit would be passed down through the generations, a haunting reminder of the consequences of historical injustice and the importance of seeking the truth. Halloween night, once a time of fear and superstition, had become a night of redemption and revelation, where the past and the present converged in a tapestry of mystical and foreboding tales. Story 9. The Phantom's Ball in the heart of the city, where centuries-old architecture and cobblestone streets whispered of history and secrets, lived Rebecca, a gifted pianist with a profound love for music. Her fingers danced across the piano keys like poetry in motion, and her talents had earned her the honor of performing at the grandest Halloween masquerade ball the town had ever seen. The ball was to take place at a magnificent, yet mysterious, mansion that had long stood as an emblem of beauty and enigma. Its sprawling gardens were adorned with statues that seemed to come to life in the moonlight, and the mansion itself, with its ornate balconies and arched windows, was a sight to behold. Rebecca was eager to play her music for the guests, her heart brimming with anticipation. She wore a gown of midnight blue, and a delicate mask concealed her face, a customary adornment for the masquerade. Her fingers tingled with excitement as she sat before the grand piano, ready to enchant the night. As the guests arrived, their elaborate costumes and masks concealed their identities. The mansion buzzed with laughter and conversation, but Rebecca's focus remained on her music. As the night wore on and the moon reached its zenith, she began to play, her melody filling the ballroom with enchanting notes that held the power to captivate hearts. The music flowed from her fingers, taking on a life of its own as it echoed through the mansion. The guests twirled in the grand ballroom, their masks casting eerie shadows on the walls. But as Rebecca's performance reached its crescendo, her heart raced, for she felt a presence beyond the living. A masked figure, dressed in a tattered suit, materialized on the dance floor. The Phantom Dancer, as he would come to be known, moved with grace and elegance, his every step in perfect harmony with Rebecca's music. His mask concealed his face, but his eyes held a depth of emotion that reached out to her. The guests watched in astonishment as Rebecca's music and the Phantom Dancer's spectral presence seemed to entwine, creating a hauntingly beautiful dance of sound and spirit. They moved as one, their performance a testament to the enduring power of love, transcending the boundaries of life and death. The Phantom Dancer's movements told a love story that had been cut short by tragedy. He had been a gifted dancer, and his beloved, a beautiful woman in a mask that concealed her identity, had been his muse. As the music played, the mansion's grand chandeliers cast a soft, ethereal light on the Phantom and his beloved, illuminating their dance. Their movements held a bittersweet quality, a poignant reminder of lost dreams and the pain of an unfinished love story. With a sense of longing and an almost painful beauty, the Phantom and his beloved danced as if they were reunited once more. But as the music's final notes hung in the air, they faded into the shadows, their love story left untold. The guests erupted into applause, their hearts moved by the haunting performance. But Rebecca's heart ached with a desire to know the truth behind the Phantom Dancer's story. With courage, she sought him out, determined to unravel the mystery of the spectral presence at the masquerade ball. As she ventured through the mansion, she came upon a hidden room, its walls adorned with portraits of the Phantom and his beloved. Their eyes seemed to follow her, and the room was filled with a sense of melancholy. In the center of the room stood an old gramophone, its needle resting on a dusty record. As Rebecca turned the crank and placed the needle on the vinyl, the room was filled with the sound of a hauntingly beautiful waltz, and the Phantom and his beloved reappeared before her. With a sense of urgency, the Phantom Dancer revealed the truth of his story. He had been a celebrated dancer in his time, and his beloved had been a woman of unparalleled grace and beauty. They had fallen in love, their hearts entwined in a love that was both passionate and timeless. But their love story had been marred by tragedy. On a stormy night, while they danced under the open sky, a bolt of lightning had struck the mansion, causing a fire that had consumed them both. Their love had been cut short, their dreams left unfulfilled. Rebecca, her heart heavy with the weight of the Phantom's tale, understood the pain of lost dreams and the enduring power of love. She knew that the Phantom's spirit longed for closure, a chance to say goodbye to his beloved and find peace. With a sense of determination, Rebecca played a final, bittersweet melody on the grand piano, a farewell to the Phantom and his beloved. The spectral couple danced together one last time, their movements filled with grace and longing. As the final notes faded away, the Phantom and his beloved dissolved into the shadows, their love story finally told, and their spirits finding the peace they had sought for centuries. Rebecca emerged from the hidden room, her heart both heavy and light, knowing that the mansion's enigmatic history had been revealed and the pain of lost dreams had found its resolution. The Phantom and his beloved could finally rest, their love story told through the music that had bound them together, transcending the boundaries of life and death. The tale of the Phantom Dancer and Rebecca's encounter with the spectral presence at the masquerade ball would be passed down through the generations, a testament to the enduring power of love and the pain of lost dreams. Halloween night, once a time of mystery and enchantment, had become a night when the past and the present converged in a tapestry of romantic and tragic tales. Story 10: The Vengeful Jack-o'-lantern in the quiet town of Hollowsville. Halloween was a time when the air turned crisp and the trees rustled with the secrets of centuries-old curses. Among the legends that haunted the town, one tale was whispered with both fear and fascination: the legend of the vengeful Jack-o'-lantern. Ben, a skeptical teenager with a penchant for trouble, had heard the stories of the cursed pumpkin patch on the outskirts of town. It was said that the pumpkins grown there were tainted with dark magic, their carvings hiding malevolent spirits that sought revenge against anyone who dared to desecrate them. Halloween night arrived, and the allure of adventure pulled Ben to the edge of the pumpkin patch. Armed with nothing but mischief and a mischievous grin, he decided to vandalize the pumpkins, certain that the legends were nothing but old tales spun to frighten children. Under the pale moonlight, Ben's laughter echoed through the rows of pumpkins. He carved sinister faces into the pumpkins, relishing in the thrill of his reckless actions. But as the night grew darker, a sense of unease crept over him, and he couldn't help but feel that the pumpkin's hollow eyes watched his every move. Amidst the pumpkins stood a solitary jack-o'-lantern, its face carved with a malevolent sneer, a sinister grin that seemed to twist and contort in the flickering candlelight. This was the vengeful jack-o'-lantern, and Ben's curiosity led him to approach it. As he placed his hand on the jack-o'-lantern, a chilling breeze swept through the pumpkin patch. The pumpkin shuddered and shivered, its grin stretching into an eerie, wicked smile. A feeling of dread settled in Ben's heart as he realized he had awakened the vengeful spirit trapped within. The jack-o'-lantern burst into life, its lid flying off, and an otherworldly presence emerged, a ghostly figure with a twisted, pumpkin-like head. It was the vengeful jack-o'-lantern, its form translucent and its eyes burning with a malevolent fire. With a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the earth, the vengeful jack-o'-lantern vowed vengeance against Ben for desecrating the pumpkin patch. Its words filled the night, and a sense of fear washed over the skeptical teenager. Ben turned to flee, but the jack-o'-lantern pursued him with a relentless, ghostly fervor. Its laughter filled the night, an eerie, maniacal sound that sent shivers down Ben's spine. He ran through the darkened streets of Hollowsville, his heart pounding with terror, but the jack-o'-lantern was always close behind. As the hours passed and Halloween night continued, Ben's escape turned into a desperate chase. The jack-o'-lantern's powers seemed boundless, and it could appear and disappear at will, its presence haunting every corner of the town. Ben realized that the ancient curse had imbued the vengeful spirit with a relentless determination to seek revenge. With no place to hide, he sought refuge in the town's haunted cemetery, its shadowy gravestones providing a temporary sanctuary. But the vengeful spirit was unrelenting. It pursued him into the cemetery, its laughter echoing through the moonlit night. Ben's breath was ragged, and his legs ached from the relentless pursuit. He knew that he had unleashed a malevolent force that could not be appeased. As the jack-o'-lantern closed in, its ghostly hands reaching out to claim him, Ben's gaze fell upon a weathered, ancient tombstone. It bore an inscription, the tale of a young man who had met a tragic end after desecrating the pumpkin patch on Halloween night. With a sudden realization, Ben understood the origins of the vengeful jack-o'-lantern. The spirit had been trapped within the pumpkin by an ancient curse, the consequence of its own reckless actions on Halloween night. Desperation led him to recite the curse's incantation, a plea for mercy and forgiveness. The jack-o'-lantern's pursuit halted, its ghostly form wavering as the curse's words echoed through the cemetery. As the incantation reached its final verse, the jack-o'-lantern's malevolent presence began to dissipate, its fiery eyes losing their burning intensity. The curse had been broken, and the vengeful spirit was at last released from its pumpkin prison. The pumpkin's sinister grin faded, replaced by a look of solemn understanding, and with a final, silent nod, the vengeful jack-o'-lantern vanished into the night. Halloween night drew to a close, and Ben stood in the haunted cemetery, his heart still racing from the horrors he had witnessed. The vengeful jack-o'-lantern, a malevolent force that had sought revenge, had found its redemption, and Ben had learned the consequences of his own reckless actions. The tale of the cursed pumpkin patch and the vengeful jack-o'-lantern's pursuit would be passed down through the generations, a haunting reminder of the power of ancient curses and the price of recklessness on Halloween night. Halloween, once a time of tricks and treats, had become a night of dark and intense tales, where the past and the present converged in a tapestry of suspenseful and dramatic legends.